Well, all right. Welcome back to the party, everybody. I am your host, Lutch, aka the Indian Jesus, here to resurrect the second coming of common sense. How's everybody doing here with my co-host Morty? I want to give a shout out to the replay gang. Thank you so much for coming back to check this out, even though you missed the live party. Guys, that is the best part. So make sure you are here every Monday, Wednesday, Friday, 8 p.m. Eastern, and sometimes whenever I feel like it. So just hit that subscribe button, ring the bell, and you will never, ever, ever have to worry about missing an Indian Jesus live party ever again. Let's also say thank you to my6shirt.com. Whatever your persuasion, they've got something for you. And of course, it is the only place to get your very own The Indian Jesus official merch. Only at my6shirt.com. All right. Welcome, everybody. So, you guys, if you guys are familiar with the channel, you know that we love Jubilee Middle Ground over here. I think it is a fantastic way to get normal people together to discuss issues that normally they wouldn't otherwise talk about, and have to talk about it with people who disagree with them, which again is something that we rarely encounter unless it's something like this. So if you're not familiar, it's Jubilee's Middle Ground. They have a, they'll have two sides. They'll give a bunch of prompts. Everybody agree or disagree, and then they get into discussion. And today, it is police officers versus ex-convicts. So let's get into it. And as always, if you cannot hear the video, please do let me know.
Step forward if you agree with the prompt.
All right, so we're starting
Cops
off.
should not carry guns.
So the first prompt here is cops should not carry guns. That's A. We got splits in the building, showing up early for once. What is good? Welcome to the party. Oh my goodness gracious. Melted Mind Media coming in hot with the $25 super chat. Said keep up the good work. Thank you, sir. And of course, every single super chat comes with a treat for Morty. There you go, from Melted Mind Media. Thank you so much. And of course, the biggest donation of the stream makes you the sponsor of the stream. Let me fix that banner for you. But again, the prompt here being cops should not carry guns. Thank you again, Melted Mind Media.
I mean, there are so many countries in this world that do not have this level of violence within its law enforcement department or any other department. Guns themselves are not the issue. It's the finger behind the gun, because you don't know the mentality, the mind, the heart of the person, and things trigger people and they snap.
Thank you again,
and
Melted
no one
Mind.
exempt. Police officers are human beings too. They can snap.
If you took guns away from the uniform, I guarantee you, like, half of them would not be there working.
No,
you know,
it's the power.
If you
No, of course not. Why would you want to be taking on criminals who have guns without a gun?
had to struggle to submit a perpetrator and to, like, actually do work, police work, like it's not just about reaching for your gun 99% of the time. Yeah. So it's like if the gun wasn't part of the uniform, a lot of them wouldn't take that enabling role that they want to take as officers. You know.
This guy seems, I mean, all of the ex-convicts obviously have had trouble with the police, but this guy seems like he's been through some trauma and can't even understand that maybe he hasn't necessarily had a great experience with the cops, but obviously that there's bad people out there and we need some type of law enforcement.
Right in front of my building, I was harmed by an older man. When I got away, I went to the police. The detective took me to the hospital, everything, checked me out. You know what the police officer did with having a gun and everything else? Pulled me over, saying he was taking me back home, pulled me over on a dark side of a street and raped me.
Okay. Obviously, I had to shout over that, but that is obviously a terrible thing to do, but also has absolutely nothing to do with whether or not cops in general should have guns. I'm sorry that that's your experience. That is a terrible thing that happened. That never should happen, police officer or otherwise. But that's not really what we're talking about.
because of the uniform, the badge, and the gun that made me freeze. But you, as a police officer, saying that you were here to protect and to serve, you allowed your power, your uniform, you got everything else to make you think that that was okay. And this happens a lot.
I mean, I don't know the numbers on how much it actually happens, but she's absolutely right about that. But it's just not relevant to the question, and it's a weird way to start off this conversation. And again, I understand that we are talking about cops and ex-convicts, and as someone who's been arrested a number of times myself, not super proud of it, but hey, it is what it is. It's certainly not a fun experience, and you certainly don't get treated the same way when you're in custody than when you're just a normal person. But we got to be reasonable. Melton My Media said she says it like he did it. Yeah, as if she's talking to the dude, as if, how dare you, when they're on the same side. Hey, we got David Banner in the building, said F cops. All right, fair enough. Don't have a super fantastic relationship with the cops myself. So it's going to be interesting to see, because it definitely, we've seen crime on the rise in the last few years. And so obviously that gives us the idea in the mind, like, what are the cops doing? We need the cops to do this, that, and the other. But it's not necessarily the same. It's not necessarily the same thing in individual circumstances where it's like, okay, why is this cop, being a dick? Banner said, I've had my ass whooped by cops before. They take any slight to the fullest extent. And that's the type of stuff that I am not going to cape for. No way. Welcome to the party, brother.
It happens a lot.
They want to abuse other people. They want to, tyrants over other people. So they choose jobs like that. Like, what if you want to help other people? Why can't you go be a humanitarian? There's oceans to clean up. Instead, like, everybody just wants to be out here taking rights away from others and abusing people and getting guns. And the moment you start copying an attitude, literally click. Let's go.
But I don't want to do that to them as they do it to us.
Exactly. I don't want to do to them like they do to us. That's a great way to put it, regardless of how she started out. David says, I think cops should absolutely exist and not be defunded. But the I'm a hammer and everything else is a nail culture needs to go. Absolutely. Let's arrest that.
Disagree, step forward.
Okay, so now everybody who disagrees and believes that cops should have guns are now stepping forward.
If someone else has a gun, you gotta defend yourself too, just the way you use it. I'm not saying that you should use guns, but I mean, if you have a gun, then you have to use it, of course, but not use it just for traffic stops or people with mental illnesses, stuff like that. That's out.
The problem is, how are you supposed to know before you get into the situation? I completely get that cops are trigger happy, but it's not for no reason. It's obviously because any traffic stop could be your last.
If they have a knife or a stick or, a fork, like that doesn't justify anybody getting shot.
So you're for having armed police officers?
Yeah, if someone else has a gun,
Yeah.
if someone else.
I believe that y'all should be armed because I believe in the Constitution. I don't believe in the policing that the police force has done throughout many communities I've been in.
Facts. Melton My Media says, I do not care for cops, but I also have never had a bad experience. I think it's the small town culture. It's definitely different. And where I grew up wasn't like a small town, but it was, it wasn't necessarily an urban area. It was a suburban area, but there's a lot of people there. So a couple cops, like, you knew who they were. You'd see them around, around town, but that small town culture absolutely did not exist. And then 2 out of 3 times I got arrested was not in my town. So one I got arrested in New Brunswick, which is like Rutgers territory, where Rutgers University is. Then another time I got arrested in New York City. So that wouldn't have helped anyway. But that is a huge factor. And when people talk about community policing, I definitely think that's not the end all be all, but it's certainly a good option.
But I do believe in rights versus laws, and I do believe that there are dangerous scenes that you go to where it is required to use them. So I have to agree that part of your, like he said, his tool belt needs to include a pistol.
Okay, good. Because I was about to challenge you both and say, okay, what? So you mean to tell me that what happened at Michigan State University?
So it says Michigan State pew-pewing, February 13th, 2023. 3 students killed and 5 wounded.
With an active shooter killing 5 students, or Ubaldi, where they went into an elementary school.
Oh, we know about Uvalde. We know about Uvalde.
And killed children.
The Sandy Hook.
Sandy Hook, what happened over 10 years ago.
And that was 20 students killed, 6 adults killed from 2012.
You're sitting there telling us that we shouldn't be carrying firearms?
Yeah, you shouldn't. Like, if you guys are just traffic cops and stuff like that, you guys shouldn't.
No,
if you guys are like a SWAT team.
Yeah, you're not answering my question.
Like I said,
And again, that's based on a fundamental misunderstanding of how the world works. And I can commiserate with your idea that, oh, cops are too quick to go to their gun. But to think that them not having guns is at all a way to go, it's just nonsensical. It's nonsensical.
I'm just going based on what you said. You called me a predator. I'm like, I never done that in my life, right? I've been in situations where I've been shot at. I had 2 members of my department die in the last 2 months. I've been in situations where I've needed my firearm. I've needed every tool in my belt in my career. If you would go out and then see half of the stuff I see, you may change your perception about what you see. It's dangerous.
So you can't call for backup.
What does me calling for backup have to do with?
So if you
What is backup gonna do if backup doesn't have guns either?
if you were at county, okay, say in my area,
Which I'm a county cop.
right, and in my area, I mean, you have miles and miles of nothing around you. Your closest partner is maybe if you're lucky, 20 minutes away.
A lot can happen in 20 minutes.
Okay. In the meantime, I've got somebody that has me at gunpoint, and if I don't have a gun on my hip, I'm dead. I am a dead man walking because I have nothing that can go up against another gun.
Unfortunately, this is true. David Banner said it is dangerous, but most of these MFers sign up to play hero. Let's be real. There's a lot of people, especially since the discussion around like defunding the police and abolishing the police. In that time, the type of cops that we have, like the good cops who were trying to be good cops, left. And all the people like this, they're like, oh, well, they're hiring. Let's sign up and play hero. Absolutely, David. Hey, we got Opus in the building. Welcome to the party. Said police pay needs to double as well as the qualifications to become one. They both need to double. I like that. I like it. Welcome to the party, brother.
How do you think felons feel?
There's tasers, pepper balls.
Well, if we're talking about a cop who's doing his job and somebody who has already committed a felony, then I don't really care what they feel like. Don't be a felon. Don't break the law then.
Like,
Societal issues are not on the police. Like, I'm not stripping you of your rights, right? That is not. You can vote. I don't give a shit. You can vote. You can carry a gun. You can do all that. That is not my personal. That is not my job in life. My job is you've been accused of a crime. I got to take you to jail because this, and that, and the third. I'm done.
You're saying that we should have pepper spray, tasers to Michigan State University or Uvalde? Is that what you're saying? What? So you're telling me that if I'm a cop, I have no gun?
But also, this,
and
well, he said to the community, like maybe
no, that's not what he said. The prompt is, should cops be unarmed? Hold on a second. You just got done watching probably the most tragic incidents in probably historically. Ubaldi, may I add, that's kids.
I mean, they're giving a thing here about Uvalde, but I'm sure we all know. But, police waited for over an hour outside classrooms before a team made entry. There was enough police on the scene to have stopped the gunman 3 minutes after he entered the building. Texas Public Safety Chief has testified. So, I mean, obviously that was a weird situation with that. But again, how would it have gone any better if they didn't have guns? David said, how many cops go do anything within the community? And I'm not talking about some big formal sponsored event. I'm talking about shooting hoops with kids or even having a conversation with young people. What? That don't happen. Not that I've seen. Not anytime recently. Most of the time you would see cops, the interactions are automatically negative. Yep. But again, I want to be fair and say that while it is their responsibility to deal with that, we do have to keep in mind that any interaction can become negative, and lethally so. That can never be taken off the table when we're talking about cops. That doesn't excuse brutality or excessive force or anything like that, but it cannot be taken off the table. Opus says there was a story on the front page today of cops doing random pickup games of hoops just this past weekend where I live. Well, there you go. That's what we need. That's what we need. So I would plaster that story everywhere. Show that there is a positive side that to or maybe not a positive side, but there is a way for the cops to have an image that isn't just evil. And it's doing stuff like this. It's that simple.
For crying out loud. And what you're sitting here saying is that we shouldn't be in our... What is it would you like me to do if someone has an AK-47 killing kids? That's my question to you.
We actually have our own rights. You know, that we actually have our own rights to carry and defend ourselves in certain situations like that.
You know, with all due respect, that's not the question I'm asking.
He's talking specifically about a school pewer. Unless you're talking about the idea that you want, teachers to have guns. Okay, that's a whole other discussion though. But we don't have that. We don't have that right now. So you're skipping a step. Yeah, Opus, positive outreach. That's the way to do it. That's it. Because the cops will always have to be the quote unquote bad guy to the bad guys. That's never going to change. But positive outreach can help their image, and the image is what people think of and how people will react on that first encounter. And that could be all the difference. So it says, how can the cops do anything if they aren't armed? A lot of the situations they deal with could end up lethal by taking guns from cops and sending them into these situations where they could die. Yeah, exactly. It's not even a logical scene to go down. It wouldn't work. There's just not. We shouldn't have cops then. If you're saying, oh, we have our own rights to protect ourselves, all right. I mean, we could talk about that too. But you're skipping a step. You're skipping a step.
No, I'm asking you if you were okay. I'll ask in a different way.
Have a good one, Opus. Good to see ya, brother. Good to see ya. David says, remember when the head of the NY police union was on TV like, respect us. You must all respect us. I mean, you should, in general, respect cops until they give you a reason not to. And even then, it's still in your best interest to respect a cop who's being a dick because they have that power. And I mean, let's be honest. Crime in New York is through the roof right now. It took citizens to stop the Michael Jackson dude. So again, we got to remember what the real world is actually like when we're having these discussions. You know, it's easy to think about how we are good people, and we know that we're good people, and so this is how we act. But they don't know that. That's what I mean. So the problem is the last 3 years, a lot of good cops have been pushed out due to defunding, only leaving bad cops with less money and time to deal with their community, especially in big cities. Exactly. Spot on, brother. Spot on.
Way. If you're a police officer and you have no firearms, you got your pepper spray, you have your taser, you have your baton, and you are responding to Uvalde Elementary School where there's an active shooter with an AK-47. What are you going to do?
I would say that I would call for backup to the proper authorities that would be entitled to have those weapons that are not in the general community.
So you want to say that some cops would have guns, but they're sitting back waiting until the bad thing already has happened, and then we'll call them in afterwards. Sounds smart. Mountain My Media says you should respect everyone who treats you with respect. That's a good way to think about it too. But you know, oftentimes those who are treating you with respect don't need to demand that respect because we usually do act this way.
I get what he's saying.
No, but what entitled to have weapons? Who? What agency?
So like like
SWAT
the
and
UK,
above, you
yeah,
know,
what he's
there's
saying.
certainly- but we're
It's like
saying
United
that's
Kingdom,
different, you know?
how United Kingdom, their special force
Right, that's
in their
what I'm
police
saying.
department have weapons, but they're regular.
So why should you just be? Why
Because we have so many more guns. That's why.
should you have the ability to just tote around a gun? That's my question to you.
What's that?
My question to you is, just because you're a cop, why should you have the right to tote a gun around just because you have a badge?
No.
Because we're Americans. And the Second Amendment, badge or no badge, allows you to carry that gun. So why would you take that away from people who are specifically trying to help? And yes, there are a lot of cops that are trigger happy, certainly in America. Absolutely. But if we're, talking about this in a realistic sense, obviously they have to be able to do something. And just waiting an extra 20 minutes while the big guys come in that's not an answer. That's not an answer.
No. That's not what the prompt is. The prompt is cops being unarmed. Cops being all of us.
But you use your
Whether
body,
you're
and your body, they took like over an hour to
If you let me-
respond when
allow me
they
to
were there.
finish. He
So
asked
you
me
had
a
the
question.
guns and you still didn't.
What I'm
shoot.
saying is that he's saying cops. Cops is a very, when you say cops to me, you're talking everybody. Every single cop, okay? And you're saying we shouldn't be unarmed.
Well, okay, let's be fair. He already said SWAT and above. I don't know what SWAT and above actually means, but he wants a ground level police force that is unarmed, and then that there's arms available if they need it. And yep, Malcolm said that's why the knife and acid attacks are at an all-time high in the UK and have been for a long time, because violent people will be violent. A gun is just a tool, just like a knife, just like acid.
Okay.
You shouldn't have guns at all.
Okay. So you know what? Next time there's a big active shooter going into a university, then I guess we're just gonna let him shoot all the students.
So I have a question for you. So all those countries that don't have their police officers carrying guns?
Not many, just so you know.
Oh, I know very well. That's the work that I do.
Okay.
So, and even been there to see that. But what I'm saying is that, have you ever thought about how those countries respond to those situations? And can we do the same?
We absolutely could not do the same, because we have criminals here, and I'm not speaking of y'all, but there are people here that still carry regardless of if it's against the law.
Mhm.
If you were to take guns away from illegals, criminals, people that are not from here, I would 100% agree that officers don't need guns,
So are
and that
those
we
mass
could go.
shooters?
Even still, I would like to have, if you're taking my tax dollars to protect me, then pick up a gun.
Because I think the mass shooters are not the ones, the immigrants, and the taking it all
No,
away.
but and
This is the trap. This is what the media does. The media makes it seem like the big problem with guns is in schools. It's not. That is a huge issue, obviously. But most gun violence happens at a street level in urban cities in specific areas. That's just facts. I don't know how you don't understand that. Like, what do you? I'm trying to piece together. Like, whenever I hear an idea or an ideology, a plan, or something like that, that doesn't make sense to me, I try to work backwards and think, why? Like, how did you get here? Mentally, logically, how did you get here? And I'm drawing a blank. I am drawing a blank. Melton Mamini says, and what about in the county where you don't have SWAT? Should your local sheriff not have a gun? Exactly. Did she pull the race card? I don't think she did. Did she just? She said, I do that work. I don't think she. Maybe I missed it. But yeah. David said the big problem with guns is in inner city, high populated, poorer areas. It's just facts. It's just facts. So to think that the school events are, the focus of gun violence is just ignorant.
that's what I'm just giving examples.
Yeah,
I'm
but
just
so
giving
the
examples.
She's right. I mean,
Yeah,
it's
so the mass
constitutional. It's
shooting.
just
All right, let's see it. I'm in.
I would 100% agree that officers don't need guns,
So
and
are
that
those
we
mass
could go.
shooters?
Do
Because
what?
I think the mass shooters are not the ones, the immigrants, and the taking it all
No, no,
away.
no. But, and that's what I'm just giving examples.
Yeah, but
I'm just
so
giving
the
examples.
Did we miss it again? We'll go one more thing back.
That guns are still carry,
Right.
regardless of if it's against the law. If you were to take guns away from
Yeah, I think I mean, unless we way back, then I didn't hear a race card. But
illegals, criminals, people that are not from here, I would 100% agree that officers don't need guns
So
and
are
that
those
we
mass
could go
shooters?
do
Because
what?
I think the mass shooters are not the ones, the immigrants, and the taking it all
No,
away.
no, no. But and that's what I'm just giving examples.
Yeah, but
I'm just
so
giving
the
examples.
She's right. I mean, it's
Yeah,
so the mass
constitutional.
shooting
It's a
and all
Second
that
Amendment
is-
issue.
A constitutional
second-
right to bear arms, right, allows
It's a right.
everybody in this country to bear arms. Well, not
Which is rare.
everybody, not everybody. Let me be
not y'all, but everybody else.
specific. If you're a law-abiding citizen to carry guns, the amount of guns that we have in America, doesn't it outweigh the people that we have?
So this says guns per capita. There are 120 guns for every 100 Americans. The United States is the only nation in the world where civilian guns outnumber people. So when you ask why this country can do something and that country can do something and that country can do something, but we can't do it here, there are reasons. There are reasons. If you're not willing to actually find out, because a lot of people will ask, I'm just asking questions. I'm just asking questions. Okay, that's fine. But why are you asking questions? Are you asking questions to actually understand? Or are you are you asking questions just to poke holes and start an argument? Are we here to have a conversation or what are we doing? But your ignorance is not an excuse for me to have to change my life. David says, this is the first Jubilee video that I've seen where people constantly cut each other off and don't let the full thought out. Oh, they do that all the time. All the time. I mean, this guy over here is bad. He's bad. But there's always one. There's always one. And I mean, you guys know it. We don't, that's the whole point of this channel, guys. People don't know how to have conversations anymore, especially about stuff like this. So this is exactly what we're pointing out.
Hey, these countries, they don't have a Second Amendment. They don't have a constitutional right to bear arms. So it's a lot easier to say, you know what? Y'all can't bear arms, so y'all can't bear arms. In this country, we can. So I'm just being, like I said, everything is anecdotal. I've been in situations where I needed my gun, and you were absolutely right. Would I do the job without one? Hell no, because I've been in situations where I needed one, and you know what? I had it. It's equal force. I'm being shot at, I'm about to shoot back.
That's it. If I'm getting shot at, I'm going to shoot back. We're getting into some more stuff that's not as clearly blue, let's say, as this prompt. But this one, I'm speechless. I'm speechless.
Not just, hey, I have a gun on my hip. I'm just about to, you know what? Guns. That's not how I do my job.
And the thing that popped right from that prompt is just active shooter, active shooter, active shooter. That's
And it's not even
To your
it's not even
question- to your
active
question,
shooter.
you know-
I think that's what the other cop, the black cop, is about to say. But even he's doing it. Most cops will probably never, ever have to deal with that situation, thankfully. But, you know, traffic stops gone bad, drug deals, just anything. It doesn't have to be this one thing that's sensationalized. And when you focus on that, you make it easier for the people who don't understand the reality of the other situations where you do, in fact, need your guns to be able to absorb your position. That cop is on. Oh, all I wanted to say. Wait, what? Did I miss something? No. All I wanted to say to that cop is me too. Gotcha. If I'm getting shot, I'm shooting back. Oh, wrong button. There we go. All right.
It's just being
Struggle
shot
screen.
at by itself. In
I
and of
haven't done
itself.
the research, or I don't know if there's any empirical data to know exactly in other countries how they respond to someone who has an AK-47 that goes into a building and starts killing people, and yet we're a police force that doesn't have any firearms. I don't know. I would have to do the research.
They do have special units for it. They're just not out in the street where you see them all the time, 24/7. But
You mean like where all the crime is? It's kind of like divorce when you look at the statistics. like the people that end up using their service weapon tend to do so multiple times. And that tells us that gives us information that tells us that it's not necessarily cops in general. It's a factor of police culture that allows people like this to do what they're doing. So it's a little bit more complex than, oh, just take away the guns. Actually, it's a lot more complex than that.
But you said something, and I want to bring that up. Hold on one sec. You said something. You said that the people with the guns are oftentimes criminals or, people like that. And I want to say that those mass shootings that happen in our country are from people that pass a whole tons of background checks and are law-abiding, to your point, and all these things, and all of a sudden, and that was my point earlier about when people snap or whatever might happen, and we have to be clear in identifying that, because we get labeled like we're the ones doing all these mass shootings, all these things, these horrible, egregious things, and 96% of the time, it is not a person that was formerly incarcerated.
And to your point, we get
so
labeled.
let's be clear on that part.
Right, and then we get labeled as killers.
Right.
I think I've heard agents of racial genocide is what we've been labeled before.
Jesus.
And all this, and again, my point was just, I'm talking about one specific type of, incident where,
But we have to
I
pay
think
attention
everybody
to
would
that,
agree.
though.
I think everybody would agree.
We all
Like to
have
have
to
a
pay
firearm.
attention to that, though, and be clear and be very honest with that, and identify it, and not try to like, oh, well, it sounds good, and let's get some news on this, and let's just like label them and put everything on them, because that's how we feel.
What? Did anybody understand what she just said? What even was that?
Type of, incident where.
But we have to
I
pay
think
attention
everybody
to
would
that,
agree.
though.
I think everybody would agree.
We all
Like to
have to
a
pay
firearm.
attention to that, though, and be clear and be very honest with that, and identify it, and not try to like, oh, well, it sounds good, and let's get some news on this, and let's just like label them and put everything on them, because
no idea
that's
what she's
how
talking
we
about.
feel, because that is actually what's happening. And then when we know the truth and the facts, and it comes out, it's like that person was never been incarcerated, never had a record, never anything, and do the worst harm to our society, our communities, because believe it or not, the vast majority of us on this side of the fence want safety just as much as you do.
Except for when you did whatever got you put in jail, right? Okay.
Hey, good humans. Zach here, checking in to ask if
Hey,
you're doing
Zach.
your
All right. So our next prompt: police violence is blown out of proportion. This is an interesting one. Actually, let's do a poll for this one. So, all right, it looks like we picked the cop side. Again, I purposely do these polls with not a lot of context because I just like to mess with y'all. But this is straight the prompt here. What's blown out of proportion? You know what it means. All right. So this is I always like to predict. I like to do a little bit of predicting. Police violence is blown out of proportion. I don't think any of the convicts are going to step forward. And I'm going to guess that 2 of the cops are going to step forward. Milton Mine saying, I think she is being a copist. All cops bad. I think she's being a copist. All cops bad mentality. Yep, for sure. David said, F no, police violence is not recognized enough. Fair enough. All right, let's see what they got.
Police violence is blown out of proportion.
Okay, so we got all the cops coming forward.
I think that really depends on where you're
Wow. Wow. We got that flipped. All the cops set for I should have thought about that. Obviously, it would make sense. So when I was thinking of it the other way around. So it's technically what I did mean to predict, but the opposite of what I actually predict. Hey, we got Dietrich's in the building. Welcome to the party. So, hey, man, sending my love as I'm driving to my 12-hour shift on the Boo Boo bus tonight. Shout out to G-Trix for keeping people safe. Hope the stream goes as fantastic as always. If you're not liking and subbing to the Indian Jesus, what are you doing with your always? What are you doing with your life? My little tidbit on the EMS side is, guys, if you do things that you shouldn't, are you doing things that you shouldn't be doing? Just remember, the people in the ambulance are just trying to help. Don't lie to us. Good message. Good message. Thank you again for doing your thing. Hope you enjoy whatever the show you can gather. And good advice. Good advice. Yeah. That's what I was thinking, but I had it flipped in my mind. I was going to say, when you see what we do, when you see what we see, you'd understand. That sounds probably what they're going to say.
Whether it's city, town, I think it really depends on the department, because you have a lot of departments that you see a lot of that stuff, but then you have like the smaller departments that you don't see none of that. And you have community policing. You know, we go out and we do activities with the kids. We do activities with families. Yes, we still do our job. We still pull people over, but we're not, I guess, what you would call harassing people in some of the ways that the big cities do.
So it sounds like, the small town that Melton My Media was talking about is where she's from. She's from an area where you do have that relationship with the cops, unlike the big cities.
But I mean, you technically are, though. Like, I mean, justifying your bad behavior and your violence for you guys doing community work, it just doesn't go hand in hand, you know?
I understand people's sentiment where one incident where it looks extremely bad is wrong, and then it casts an entire umbrella over the entire profession. I may have a different perspective or different perception of what you're looking at than you do because I'm in this profession, but the way that I guess that we look at things now in the media, it's blown completely out of proportion.
So when we see the video,
I cannot believe I didn't think of asking real Nathan Daly if he wanted to collab on this, because he is a retired cop and he has a great perspective on things. Damn, that was a mess.
of a police officer handling a child, and that cop has become violent towards a child.
And I agree, but my thing is, has it been blown out of proportion? I see that one incident.
We see it a lot.
You see it a lot. That is the question. You do see it a lot. Do you see it in a bigger proportion than it actually happens? Absolutely. Absolutely. That is, you don't get, the traffic stops that go fine and you get a ticket and everybody goes home. That doesn't get put on TikTok and go viral. And then so obviously you were right, but David's saying the opposite. Imagine what we don't see. Kind of goes both ways. It's hard to tell. It really is a difficult situation to understand. And I definitely agree that you would have a different perspective because you're a cop, whether you're a good cop or a bad cop. It's going to change your perception because it's real shit going on out there. So I mean, I don't know. I'm going to give him a pass on that because I mean, that's the truth of it. If you don't know what you don't know, and these people know what you don't know, what are you going to do? They have a better understanding.
You do see it a lot, but you have to also take in consideration that there's over 1,800 agencies in the entire United States. So if you look at the big grand scheme of things as it relates to all these agencies, and you do see violence, you do see where it's scrutinized, where it's brutal. But if you take the numbers, it's very, very minimal.
Yeah, and that's the thing, is especially now that there is an entire industry, let's call it, that you could be rich if you just took every police brutality video or anything that could be even considered cop misconduct. You can build an entire channel on just clips of that. I've seen them. So if it was happening so often that these people didn't have to go searching for it, then we would see it all the time. And I definitely understand where you're coming from, David, saying that on that same token, There's a lot of shit that's going to happen that we don't see. But again, if we're not the ones, if we're the ones not seeing it and they're the ones seeing it, I gotta say, I don't know what I don't know.
If you look at all the public contacts with all agencies nationwide compared to these bad incidents or the perception of bad incidents, it's a very micro compared to the macro of how many public contacts all the agencies have with the public.
Those are the ones that you do see. I mean,
And
before
it was brought up earlier about the media blowing it up, and we agree to that.
There was, Rodney King, there was Emmett Till, there was all these
and
people,
and honestly, there's bad officers. And good officers will be the first ones to tell you there are bad officers. There's bad in every.
Stop the cap. You ain't telling on nobody. You might not like it more than not more than anybody else, because the people who are getting affected definitely hate it more. But come on, you've never ratted on a cop in your life, nor would you. You know that. It says a lot of people just take their lumps and move on. Oh, I definitely agree with that. I'm not saying my opinion is the only right perspective on the matter, but a lot of people don't want to make a big deal about it. That's absolutely true. That is absolutely true. They don't make a big deal about it and risk being in the eyes of people that already whooped your ass. Completely understood and 100% agreed. The question is, where do those numbers lie? Is it more likely that any given cop is going to have a situation like this or not? And the numbers show that they're not. And if it's that big of a deal, then, not wanting to this, that, or whatever, then what do you want me to do about it? I can't do anything if you're not going to help yourself. I understand we have a crooked legal system. But this is, RPay allegations. This is the same kind of thing. I don't have the information. So if you don't come forward, how can I accept your not coming forward? You didn't come forward. So I agree with you, but that unfortunately has to be made not completely irrelevant, but there's a huge asterisk next to, imagine what we don't see. Because we do have to, in fact, imagine what we don't see.
Every workforce that you're in, everything. If it's bad, it's bad. If it's wrong, it's wrong. We are the first ones.
Okay. But yes, in every workplace and every workforce, there's bad. But if you are working in a restaurant and you're doing bad stuff by taking leftovers home or giving out free drinks, or not really a big deal. If you're a cop and you're acting like a bad cop and people are getting arrested, people are getting hurt, people are getting killed, well, that's not the same thing at all. You have to be held to a higher standard than the rest of us because of that uniform, because of that badge. You don't get to yes, we as citizens can have sensitivities and understand that you have a difficult job, but that doesn't absolve you from having to do it properly.
To kind of, hey, that's too far.
And I used to work internal affairs, and I personally arrested 2 prior police officers.
I also work internal affairs, and I can tell you out of 30 plus of these tribunal hearings, a lot have been terminated. So there is some accountability. I think we're heading in the right direction, considering 20-something years ago, you did something bad and, it got swept. Now, social media obviously has magnified it by hundreds and hundreds, which is good.
Well, what social media has done is just allowed everyone to see what's happening in the moment, right? Before.
Which moments, though? Again, we have to understand which moments. You don't film your regular traffic stops. And so that is exactly, I think, what the prompt is asking. Do we take every single incident of brutality and blast it out there to make it seem like that is every interaction when it's not? Melted Mind Media says, in the eyes of Ben Shapiro, wear a dress, so go to jail. Do not pass go. Do not collect $200. Oh, Ben, that was the worst take I've ever seen from him. The worst take I've ever seen from him. And then Chester was trying to say, well, that's not what he said, but he said that he said it. And then, well, that's what it means. And logically, if you follow it, but he didn't say it.
What? Or we got it weeks later, months later, years later. So no one knew what was going on. But now we have the ability to film it in the moment and say, hey, look at this, and this is what's being captured. If violence that's perpetrated against people, who, whether they're doing something wrong or not, is so, I mean, it's to the point where it's not even harmful anymore. It's tragic. Why? Because we're all human beings. And there's a culture of violence that perpetuates within the department itself.
Facts.
And I've had good cops reach out to me.
The camera angle didn't get that, so you may not have caught, but she put in quotes the good cops. I know good people who are cops. I just don't know if I believe in the good cop. And maybe some cops in here, let me know if this is a stupid position. But if there are so many more good cops than there are bad cops, then it should be very easy to identify those bad cops and get them out. Like the female cop here said, oh, nobody hates him more than us. I'll tell you who hates him more than you do. The people they're arresting, the people they're beating, the people they're killing, and their families. But if you all care so much, then why is it still an issue? You've had plenty of time. It's not like police are a new thing. So it's just like, if you're turning a blind eye when somebody is being a bad cop, and like we just explained, it's not the same thing as taking an extra, side home from your restaurant job. It's not the same thing. If you're turning a blind eye to that, then can you really call yourself a good cop? Mountain Mind says, just like how every time you drive a car, there's a chance to crash. That's why we wear seatbelts. That is exactly why.
Reach out to me and said, they're not listening. And if I say it, if they know I'm...
Oh, so, okay, let's...
And there's a culture of violence that...
Hey, we got MJ in the building. Welcome, welcome, welcome to the party. So, get you caught up with the conversation. This is Jubilee Middle Ground, where they bring in people from two different groups. Today, we have police officers on the left and ex-convicts on the right. They will give them a prompt, and you can agree or disagree, and then they have the discussion. So the prompt they're discussing right now is what's in the poll is police violence blown out of proportion, and these are all the people that have stepped forward to say they agree. Welcome to the party, MJ.
Perpetuates within the department itself. And I've had good cops reach out to me and said, they're not listening. And if I say it, if they know I'm saying anything, I'm gone or I'm going to be hurt.
Police.
Exactly. That's exactly what I mean. If that's the culture, the thin blue line, then you're not really as good of a cop as you want to make yourself seem. If you're not if you don't care, or let's say if you care that much about the law, that you're willing to, well, I know you didn't know your license was expired, but I'm going to have to, ruin your life over this anyway. If you can do that because, hey, this is my job. That's the law and it has to follow. Then why can't you do that for your own? And if you were doing it for your own, then we wouldn't have these issues because you, the good cops, would be the only ones there. The good cops wouldn't be so afraid of the bad cops because they would be vastly outnumbered. But they're not. David says, I never had an opinion about cops either way until until they whooped my ass. I had negative interactions with cops prior to that, but it didn't tint my opinion until I was on the end of a baton being told to stop resisting and lied about that I had a weapon.
Haram!
And that, I mean, that's happened to me. That's happened to many people I know. And like we're David, you were just talking about, it's not really anything that you're going to talk about. You might not get that on video. And then what? So I know I'm not trying to be a fence sitter here. I'm just trying to be fair to the conversation and let the actual contents of the conversation stand. And I'm trying not to really come down on not trying to come down on one side or the other. Just, statement by statement. We'll just take them all as they come.
Violence is completely blown out of proportion, in a sense that it's completely biased. Why isn't nonviolence or me saving someone's life not blown out of proportion.
Can the disagree step forward?
So they kind of brushed over that, but that, you know, that's what we call the representative heuristic. You don't see every time he has a good traffic stop, anytime he does anything, you know, help somebody whose car is on the side of the road, any of those things. And so that's where I don't think that it's necessarily about, oh no, cops don't do all these bad things. That's not really how I interpreted the prompt. I interpreted it that is it blasted out for people to see more than it actually exists, and I think it does. Banner says, you don't seem like a fence sitter. You're just watching it as it comes. You got it, brother. MJ says, I would like to say something about the, quote, good cop. I'm going to assume you mean ish. Workplaces are difficult when you have a terrible leader in place. The people that wanted to do the right thing can be completely railroaded. True. She's got more coming. But that's exactly, you know, why the culture they're talking about promotes those people. The thin blue line is something that's very real to them. All right, so I'll let you finish that and we'll come back to it.
I don't believe it's blown out of proportion because I believe it's just barely getting the exposure that it needs.
It is what it is. That's what it is. Each time I've encountered the cops, it's just been like the most negative experience of my life. Like,
okay, well, before we dig into that, how were you acting in those situations? Why were you interacting with the cops in the first place? Were you already committing a crime? Well, then, yeah, you're not going to have good experiences. That doesn't mean that all of us have that same thing, even though we can say we all have had shit like this happen to us. We just have to be fair. So yeah, I'm just saying, I'd like to say something about the good cop shit. So, workplaces are difficult when you have a terrible leader in place. The people, the people that want to do the right thing can be completely railroaded, and they might be in a situation where they can't have a replacement career, so their family isn't going to hurt. Now, the thin blue line. All places have good and bad leaders. It isn't just with the police departments, right? But so what I was saying just before you got here, MJ, was that absolutely you are correct. There's good and bad in every situation, but it's different with the cops because they are the cops. I was using the example of me working at a restaurant. There's bad waiters and there's good waiters. Okay, there might be corrupt waiters that are going to take an extra side home, but who is that really hurting? I'm not saying it's good. But I'm saying it's not comparable to say there's bad people and there's bad leaders. There's a bad manager who, you know, it's just, it's a very different thing because the stakes are so much higher with the cops. And because we give them the respect of, you know, when they wear the uniform and they have the gun and we, you know, allow them to police us, the exchange for that is that you hold yourself to a higher standard, and you are better at least following the law than the rest of us. Yeah, all places have good leaders and bad leaders. It isn't just with the police. I was a person trying to do the right thing, but my director. So when I called out the unethical bully behaviors, I was the one disciplined, and I'm the one that has to be careful. So if that's happening in your workplace where people aren't dying at the hands of, whether it's criminals killing each other or anything like that, then that's shitty. But they can do that because there's nobody's hurting anybody. I would love to have a conversation with your director and put them in line, but it's different. Exactly. The stakes are so much higher, literally life and death. Ability to find another position and to be able to remain at the level of compensation are very, very limited, but they're not impossible, right? And so somebody posted a rant that Tim Pool had done about getting out of the cities and stuff. And he was talking about how it's so simple to just say, well, I can't do this. I got to feed my children. And then you don't do anything. And then there's a food shortage. Now nobody's children are eating. So I get what you're saying. It's not easy. Nobody said it was easy. But if it's right, if it's moral, if it's the right thing to do, then that's the end of it. It just says we have it in my industry. Think about how these individuals are facing right now. They can feel trapped. Yeah, because there's more bad cops than there are good cops. If there were more good cops than there were bad cops, this wouldn't be the case. It's like your boss doesn't have the ability or rather, you don't have the ability to legally file this, that, or the other with your boss because because of this stuff. That's not the same with cops. If you are breaking the law, there is a legal process to go through. And being a bad cop is breaking the law. I mean, you could be a not that good cop, but when we say bad cops, we're talking about corruption, violence, things like that. So it's just a little bit different. Melted My Media says, I have a solution. No more cops, and everyone's given the 1911 on their 11th birthday. I don't know what the 1911 is, but I'm going to assume it's some kind of gun. And works for me. MJ says they might be. Why can't I read today? Jesus Christ! All right, and they might be like what I posted in Discord the other night. Those good cops might think they can be the change. They can change them with logic. No, I mean, possibly. Obviously, I'm not saying that can't happen, but I'm saying more often it's that they understand there is this police culture. There is this the blue line culture. This lady was just talking about how the good cops will come to her and say, "Oh, nobody's listening to you, nobody's trying to help." But at the end of the day, they're not doing anything. But I can't say anything because I'm afraid. That should not be police culture. You should not be afraid to do the right thing as a police officer. That is the job. Naaman said, absolutely not. Cops should exist. Let's not give everyone a pistol at 11. I mean, I don't think those are mutually exclusive. I think we should have cops, and I think people should be introduced to firearms at a young age so they can understand what they are. What's so wrong with that?
I'm addicted to the news.
There it is. There it is.
And every time I think of my life, like I'm addicted to the news.
If you are addicted to the news, then you do not have a realistic outlook on life. Unless you're going to say, like, because when people say the news, you're not really talking about like alternative media. I'm going to assume that he's talking about mainstream media. And that is why, number one, you think that there's so much more violence than you even see. And two, why you can't even form a coherent thought to engage with the other side. Melted Mind, I'm already out of there, out of there, out of there. Hey, come on, out of there. Just going back by the wires. Come on, come lay down, look cute, get us some money. Melted Mind Media says, hey, if you train them young to respect the weapon, what's wrong with it? Not a damn thing, in my opinion.
And every time I turn on the news, it's another cop killing. Like you said, maybe.
Again, turn on the news. That's not how people talk when they're talking about Tim Cast or even David Pacman or anything like that.
They don't report what's good out there, but they do report the bad. And I watch it every day of my life. Like, I see how the cops treat people.
So that would specifically be an answer that of yes to the question of it. Is it blown out blown out of proportion? Obviously, it is. If you're seeing it every single day, and you're not seeing the representation of all of the things that are happening every single day that aren't violent interactions.
If I may ask you, if you did see the good, would that give you a different perception about the police?
It's not that I don't see the good, it's that it just doesn't, I haven't seen it happen, I haven't experienced it, I haven't heard nobody in my community have anything.
So I've seen the good when I was 16 years old. I'm in my 40s. I actually had a police officer who was my hero. Every contact since in multiple states, multiple divisions, has violated me, stolen from me, taken from me, and stripped me of every value I ever had. The way y'all talk to me, the approach, I'm so respectful. 18,000, that's what you said? Divisions?
No, 1,800.
1,800? How many prisons are there? And how many inmates? And then we're disarmed when we come home. We can't vote, so I can't compete with you on my laws.
That's a fantastic point. And I'm not in favor of that. I don't think that if you are punished for a crime, then the punishment should be to fit the crime. I don't think a life sentence of not being able to participate in our democratic republic. I don't think that's reasonable. Maybe a probationary period while you're on parole or probation after you get out. Maybe you need a few years to get back in there, but you absolutely should be able to vote. Like when you've paid your debt to society, then the debt is paid. MJ said, I want to point this out. When our own president invites 3 Tennessee reps to the White House and not the police that saved the kids, then the bad goes much higher than just the police department. That is facts. That's facts. But unfortunately, that is a whole other discussion about the globalists and all of that. And we definitely can get into a discussion about that. That's a whole conversation. MJ goes on to say, I think I can count on one hand my interactions with the police because of a law being broken. What is her lifestyle then? Good question. That's what I'm saying. I got arrested because I was doing things that were illegal. Since I stopped doing things that were illegal, I haven't gotten arrested. What? Imagine that. David said, I've seen cops do good 2 times in my 25 years. When I was a kid, once a cop stopped to buy me and my friend's ice cream. Hope he is still out doing that. Hopefully. Probably not on the force anymore, though.
I can't carry a gun. I can't defend myself. I can't even carry a knife. The exposure is barely there. We need more exposure. I'm from the LA County area, from the islands of Hawaii originally. Every police in between them seas to the East Coast has always spoken with disrespect. They don't pull us over on a speeding ticket like, hi, how's your day? How you doing? Do you got any emergencies going on?
Yeah, they come
Nope.
with their
When's
guns.
the last time you was arrested?
Mm-hmm.
Who, me?
No, I'm just saying.
That's the approach. It's always hostile. And I was speaking before about how we have to keep on the table. We cannot take off the table the idea that any interaction can be a deadly one. That being said, de-escalation should be precisely how you go into that. If you know that this could turn deadly, why are you going to come in hot? Chill, bro. I was speeding a little bit. I don't get it. Felons can get their gun rights back? Really? I didn't know that. Is there a process they have to go through? It's not automatic, right? I'm just as my interactions were traffic issues. Speeding once. Guilty many times. There wasn't a cop around. And 2 accidents. Yeah, I mean, depending on where you live. Big depending on where you live. If you don't do bad shit, you're not likely to have these terrible interactions with the cops. It's places like Philly and New York and LA and Portland and it's those areas that it is so bad that it does make even more sense for the cops to be like, oh, what are we dealing with again? Those areas you're gonna get not a good experience. But I think for most of us, I think what she's saying right now is it just goes unsaid too often, I think. Let's get some of these, and I'm going to back that up. I want to hear exactly what she has to say. David says, LA cops are statistically the worst, most corrupt in the USA. Yep. You look up FBI stats. Chicago cops are up there too, then NY. Yep. It's all these urban areas that are low income, and there's lots of crime. The problem is that there is that crime. But at the end of the day, it's the cop's job to fix that. Well, maybe not fix that, but deal with that. And then, as MJ was saying, it's people above them who are there to actually change things so that society can move forward in a better way than what LA and New York and all that is like right now. MJ said the lady here says how the cop approached her, but she isn't doing the reverse on herself. On what events have the cop seen before that interaction they are having? Don't forget that both people have experienced in the day good things and bad things, and they might get worked up, both cop and civilian. Which one is on the job, though? It's not my job to be nice to you. It is your job to not escalate a situation if you're a cop. So, again, completely understood and agreed. But at the end of the day, I don't give a shit. I don't care. If you just came from a shooting and then pulled me over for speeding and you want to stick a gun in my face because you're scared of what happened whenever, that's not my concern. And it's not right of you, the cop, to make it my concern. So while I can understand this, that is not an excuse for any type of untoward behavior. Mountain says, as long as your crime was not gun or domestic related, you can go to court and file a court office and file to get your gun rights back. Didn't know that. Good stuff. Glad that is the case. I wonder why more people don't do that. But yeah, I do want to hear exactly what she's saying in full, because
between them seas to the East Coast,
listen to the pain
has always spoken with disrespect. They don't pull us over on a speeding ticket like, hi, how's your day? How you doing? Do you got any emergencies going on?
Yeah, they come with their guns.
When's the last time you was arrested?
Who, me?
No, I'm just saying that's the approach when you come to the car window.
Who, me?
Right? Is on guard.
I don't talk like that. So I hear where you're coming from, but I don't talk like that. So some people do that. You talk for them, but you said us. You just pointed at us, said us.
The department.
That's what happens when you put a uniform on. You say, we are together. We are part of this group. So in the same way that, it doesn't work the same way. Did I just say that? The same way that it's the responsibilities are different on either side is what I mean. Because of that, you do represent all cops when you're in a cop uniform. If you are in a policeman's uniform, you are the police. That is the entire point of having a uniform. David said, current federal law does not allow you to restore your firearm rights after a conviction under federal law. I guess we got some, maybe they don't know their rights. I think that's what Melton was saying, as long as it wasn't a gun-related or domestic related. That's, I guess I get that, but, people need their rights back when they paid their debt to society. And she said, did we just complain about Democratic-run cities and states about how cops behave? Yup. And that's, goes to what you were saying earlier, that the root of these problems is not with either the convicts or the cops. It's with the establishment. It's with the system. Now, if they're, that's where the problem lies.
Right. All departments.
I don't know which department they work for, but I work for a department, and I've never seen these people in my life. I've never seen you in my life. I've never encountered you in my life, but I wouldn't come at you like that.
So
how is she, in the same way that you don't know that she's not going to come at you like anything in a traffic stop? How is she supposed to know that? She doesn't know you, but you are a police officer. So I can understand the personal desire to not want to be lumped in, but that's what happens when you wear a uniform of other people. You are lumped in. So you can't have it both ways. Well, that wasn't me. Oh, okay. I guess cops are great now. That's not how it works. Multimine Media said, yes, they do. Colin Noir just did a video with an ex-felon about the process. There we go. Learning something new every day. MJ said, and if you've been caught doing something wrong, how contrite are people really being? Well, it depends on, definitely depends on what you've done. David said she couldn't even get her answer out before all the cops said, well, I didn't do that to you. Defensive. And it shows a lack of understanding of the people that you're dealing with. Obviously, you didn't do that. Do you think that she's under the impression that you were the one who did that to her? Of course she knows that it wasn't you. But we're talking about the cops. We're talking about police officers. We're talking about the police. And when you wear that uniform, you absolutely do represent other police officers. That's exactly why y'all will go to the grave with some horrible shit. You know that. So there seems to be a chip that is thrown on someone's shoulder. MJ says, well, if you're talking about people lumping each other, people that break laws have similar behaviors. So are the cops required to go through a BS dog and pony show to find that out? The person being pulled over is usually guilty of something. I mean, I'm not sure. Talking about people being lumped together. People that break laws have similar behaviors. So you don't think that there's any higher responsibility of a police officer to behave as a police officer than an individual citizen to behave any sort of way, as long as they are abiding by the law? Do you hold let's make it simpler. Do you hold police officers to a higher standard when it comes to the law than you do an average citizen?
You don't cuss at people when you walk up to them?
Oh, absolutely. When I walk up to them, no. Now, if they're cussing at me, I might cuss back. Absolutely. I'm going to allow you to dictate how you want to allow just interaction to go.
What if I speak to you with respect and you go back there and you pull my license and it says parole date 2036?
You're still going to get treated with
Walk up
respect.
to you.
I've never, not one time. So you guys are 4 out of hundreds I've
you
came
can
into
come do
contact
ride-alongs
And that's
with
fine.
me.
But what I'm saying is I'm coming to you.
I
Oh, what
will
are you on
show
parole
you,
for? I'm on
yes.
parole for this and that and the
Your
third.
computer doesn't
Now,
tell
if
you
you're an
what, that's
asshole,
my response.
if
Your
you're an
computer
asshole,
doesn't tell you, you got to do your job.
Yeah, and the dynamics change because everybody's got body-worn video now, or dashboard video, and everything's recorded.
Yeah,
all
but
these
that's the reason
contacts.
you guys have them. That's exactly why you guys have body cams and dash cams,
For
because even your own
transparency.
departments don't
it's
trust
for
you.
transparency. So if I do something, the public knows why I did something. That's what it's for. I grew up in the era of body cam, so I'm fine with it. I turn it on every single time. I've had people say, hey, this person is rude, this person, this and that and the third. They watch the body cam, did nothing that they said.
Bingo. And I'll
But
jump into that.
technology is policing you. So technology has little air.
Technology is policing you. Interesting. See what he said, the guy in the white shirt. Yeah, but he's a cop. Of course he's going to say that. Of course he's going to stick up for himself. He's getting defensive over this other woman's heartfelt experience and legitimately bringing up the idea that, well, why can't we just be nice and respectful? And they're all like, well, I am respectful. I didn't do it. I didn't. Yeah, but we're talking about the lot of you. We're not talking about you four individuals. The convicts get that privilege, if you will, of being treated as individuals because they're not wearing a uniform. David says you should hold police to a higher standard. Absolutely. Civilian might never have interacted with cops, and if a cop approaches you, it's because you're going to be catching a charge or a ticket, most likely. Facts. Which says your behavior will result in the response you receive. No. Just no. That's not true at all. I mean, there are so many people. There are so many people who can tell you story after story after story after story after story about interactions with the cops that did not need to go the way they went. It's not a matter of, well, if you're just nice, then they'll be nice too. It does not work like that. You, as a woman, a white woman, if we're going to play the race card here, maybe that's been your personal experience. But for most of us, it does not work like this. Yeah. So we holding the police to a higher standard because they interact with people all day, week after week. You would think that they would get better at it, but no need. Just said, but that lady isn't starting out as respectful. You get what you give. She absolutely started out respectful. Hold on. We're going to come back to this. I argue if you threaten a cop, then you get the reactions, i.e. being restrained. Sure. But let's go. I specifically want to hear.
When you walk up,
You talk for this, so I
approach like, hi, to the East Coast, islands of Hawaii, and knife.
Okay, so
This-
you point me out where she is being disrespectful.
Exposure is barely there. We need more exposure. I'm from the LA County area, from the islands of Hawaii originally. Every police in between them seas to the East Coast,
Honey, it just don't work like that. It just don't work like that. They will take that complaint and just toss it in the trash. If you don't have an actual, he just said it. Well, we rewound it, so he's going to say it again. I'll pull this comment up again when when you're going to file that complaint. I'll pull this up when he's talking about what happens.
always spoken with disrespect. They don't pull us over on a speeding ticket like, hi, how's your day? How you doing? Do you got any emergencies going on?
Yeah, they come with their guns.
What's the last time you was arrested?
Who, me?
No, I'm just saying that's the approach when you come to the car window, right? Is on guard.
I don't talk like that. So
And again, that's where he came in. Well, I don't talk like that. So again, where is the disrespect? She's just saying that I've been respectful and I haven't gotten that in return. Melton Mina says you get restrained when they search your car, even if you are nice. Yep. Yeah, I don't know. That is the tone of maybe you missed it. Listen to what that's why the cop was confused as well. That's why he was like, me? She was imitating the cops. She wasn't barking at the cop. What she's doing here.
Approach. What's the last time you was, hey, how you doing?
So she's saying they're not.
Has always spoken with disrespect. They don't pull us over on a speeding ticket like, hi, how's your day? How you doing?
That's where she's saying. She's saying that doesn't happen. Now she is juxtaposing that.
Do you got any emergencies going on?
Yeah, they come with their guns.
What's the last time you was arrested?
That was not her asking him when he's last been arrested. That was her giving a rendition of what the average attitude when she deals with cops is like. I don't know. I gotta disagree with MJ. I'm with David on this one. How is that aggressive? I don't understand that's not any interpretation of the word aggressive that I've ever known.
Who, me?
No, I'm just saying that's the
He didn't
approach when you
understand.
come to the car window, right? Is on guard.
I don't talk like that. So I hear where
And
you're
then you
coming
get
from,
defensive.
but I don't talk like that. So some people do that.
Right. Some people do that. That's what we're talking about. Welcome to the conversation, sir.
You talk for them, but you said us. You just pointed at us, said us.
The department. All departments.
I don't know which
I don't
department
know
they
all
work
the
for, but I work for a department, and I've never seen.
And there's no bad cops where I work. We're all us. Oh, there's something happened somewhere else. Stop the cap. Stop the cap. And she said, well, she had spoken to me. Equals, she started fighting, the fighting tone about the conversation. I have no idea what this is. Yeah, I'm with you, bro.
Seen these people in my life. I've never seen you in my life. I've never encountered you in my life, but I wouldn't come at you like that.
So you don't cuss at people when you walk up to them?
Oh, absolutely.
When I walk up to them, no. Now, if they're cussing at me, I might cuss back. Absolutely. I'm going to allow you to dictate how you want to allow just interaction to go.
What if I
Stop the
speak to you
cap.
with respect and you go back there and you pull my license and it
You're
says
still
parole
gonna
date
get treated.
2036?
You're still gonna get treated with
Walk up
respect.
to you.
I've never, not one time. So you guys are 4 out of hundreds I've
You
came
can
into
come do
contact with.
ride-alongs
And that's
with
fine.
me.
But
Again, you can do right along with me. I'm a good cop. Okay, great. Good for you. I believe you. Then why aren't you out there arresting all the cops that she's dealt with? It's not about you. It's about the police. Multimine Media says, I wish these were cops and cons from the same area, so it could have been more direct. That is a good idea. I wish it was. I mean, I get the idea of having a more ideologically diverse crowd, but that would have been very good. I just said the first part when she says they don't pull us over. She had a tone that is a fighting tone. I mean, yeah, maybe, but maybe you do hear it, but I don't understand how that translates to aggression. I think that obviously, if we're talking about being treated unfairly, then there's reason to have an emotion attached to that. She wasn't barking at the people in the conversation. She was just speaking emotionally.
What I'm saying is, I'm coming to you.
I
Oh, what are
will
you on
show
parole
you,
for? I'm on
yes.
parole for this and that and the
Your
third.
computer doesn't
Now,
tell
if
you
you're an
what, that's
asshole,
my response.
if
Your
you're an
computer
asshole,
doesn't tell you, you got to do your job.
Yeah, and the
Facts.
dynamics change because everybody's got body-worn video now, or dashboard video, and everything's recorded.
Yeah,
All
but
these
that's the reason
contacts.
you guys have them. That's exactly why you guys have body cams and dash cams.
For
Because even your own
transparency.
departments don't
it's
trust
for
you.
transparency. So if I do something, the public knows why I did something. That's what it's for. I grew up in the era of body cams, so I'm fine with it. I turn it on.
This is a great point, and I'm not trying to pile on, MJ, but I don't hear, but you do. Stop resisting. I'm not resisting. Well, I thought you did, so the amount of discretion they have is it's just you don't even have to break the law to be a bad cop. You could just be a shitty person who has a badge. You don't have to kill anyone to be a bad cop. I don't know. I don't see any way that again, like I say, when people say things that I don't necessarily understand or agree, I try to work it backwards. And I mean, fair to agree to disagree, but I just do not hear it.
On every single time, I've had people say, hey, this person is rude, this person this and that and the third, and they watch the body cam, did nothing that they said.
Bingo. And I'll
But
jump into that.
That's true, MJ, for sure.
Technology is policing you. So technology has little air. Human beings are policing us in the community of a community that you don't even know our values. You come from 30 miles away as a difference in the values. So I believe that it does need more exposure beyond the cameras that y'all
Well, I
have.
think
MJ says, but turn that back on yourselves. What if I don't hear what you hear? How is that just against the cops? Well, regardless of what we do or don't hear, you as the police officer that we're holding to a higher standard should always be looking to de-escalate. So even if somebody does come in hot, which I'm not saying they should, don't be a dick to cops. Don't be a dick to cops. But if you are a cop and somebody is being a dick to you, that doesn't make it okay for you to be a dick to them. Because you are on your job. You are a representative of your community and the entire American way of life. There's so much there. They just say, well, he was a dick, so I'm going to be a dick too. That's like a mother and a child. The amount of control we give the cops, it's exactly like that. So if you're like, well, my 3-year-old hit me, so I just... That's not a reasonable way to go about life. That's not a reasonable way to raise a child, and that's not a good way to get the child to do what you want them to do. David said, that's called being human. Every interaction will not be perfect, but to think she was being disrespectful or confrontational and having a fight in her voice is something we don't need in police interactions. Facts. Mountain My Media says to MJ, they are at work. If you work in a store and a customer says something rude, you don't be rude back. And as we've brought up now 3 times, if you work at a store and you're a bad store employee, then somebody has to wait and get customer service, get whatever. If you're a bad cop, people can die. But what if you think what I'm doing is being a dick, but everyone else that saw or heard the video didn't hear it? Why does that change why you need to be a dick in return? Let's grant that. You're the interaction, you're the cop, you're the one with the authority, you're the one with the training, and you hear aggression coming from somebody. Do you think it is a good idea to, all right, well, I'm going to come in hot too? Is that your job? Or is your job to keep people safe? Okay, I guess we're missing the point. Let's dive back in and give her a chance to restate.
I think if you're going to say it needs more exposure, I think the good side also needs more exposure. Yeah. I think policing in a whole needs more exposure.
I mean, I grew up.
No. There are certain things that you could do that, we definitely want to highlight in society. But if your job is a police officer, we don't need to shine a light on you for doing your fucking job. Just do your job. It may be a very hard job. It may be a very dangerous job, but it is your job. You don't get a pat on the back for doing your job.
With that in school, DARE programs and all these false hopes.
But that's not, the DARE
That's your
program has
exposure.
nothing to do with patrol and being out on the streets and working with people and families out on the streets.
True. I mean, DARE specifically failed, but maybe that's a problem. Maybe it should be officers who need to spend time in schools interacting with children. Maybe it needs, cops need to be at different, community events to just meet people and stuff like that. Maybe that's part of the problem. Davidson, it's hard to make it clear in the comments. I understand, but it seemed like you were saying perceived slights should justify negative interactions by authority or cops. And yeah, that's the way that I understood it. I see another one coming, so I'm gonna just let them finish.
I see the good in policing, but I also see the bad in policing.
Mm-hmm.
So, like I said, if this one side needs more exposure, I think it all needs more exposure.
Nope.
I grew up in the community. I'm not judging you, but yet you see me with a uniform, you automatically judge me. And I don't think that's fair.
That absolutely is fair. That absolutely is fair. You are wearing a uniform. That's such cope. So you're telling me if I go to a football game that I can't automatically judge the guy in pads and a jersey and a helmet on that he's probably good at football. But you can't judge that about me just because I'm at a game. Or pick a UFC fight. You're in a UFC fight, so I can judge you that you're probably somebody who is likely to fight tonight. But I'm just in the crowd. What is that? Where does that come in? Okay, so it just says, I'm the cop. The civilian thinks my question about what they were doing is considered rude. But if someone heard what I said, it wasn't rude, maybe not syrupy and nice, then maybe all of this is the preconceived attitude of the person that is having another interaction with the police. I agree, MJ, but what I'm saying, I wasn't missing your point. What I'm saying is that if you had, number one, if you're the cop and somebody's being rude to you, that's not a justification to make that interaction go worse. It's your job to make sure to have that interaction go well. It's not the other person's job. Again, of course, we want our people to have the culture and the values to not, while out. That cop didn't need to do anything different. Obviously, he did. Obviously, he did. If it was I mean, okay. What are we talking about? Are we talking about like somebody just being rude? Then what's the benefit? What's the benefit of the person still gets the ticket, and even though they're a dick, you were nice to them? Just like if you worked in a store and somebody came in and was a dick to you, you'd be like, yes, of course, whatever you say, ma'am. I'm sorry. I totally understand. If minimum wage employees can do it when literally nothing is on the line, then why can't trained law enforcement officers do it at their job? What? He's wearing clown robes? He must not be racist? What? Oh, gotcha. Yeah, exactly. Took me a second. Oh, yeah, I'm just wearing a robe and a hood. You can't judge me. I don't think that's fair. That's not how that works, sir. She says, no, if I'm saying that if you are an ass towards me, I'm not going to be nice and sweet and lenient that if you and lenient as if you weren't weren't an ass to me. But again, just because somebody is not nice, like I have no responsibility to be nice to you as the cop. And you have no benefit in matching that energy just because you want to get all uppity and you want to have an ego and you want to match that energy. It is your job to de-escalate. It is your job. It is your responsibility to de-escalate. It says, but you don't have to answer to cops about what you were up to. Reasonable, articulable suspicion of a crime is the only reason you need to answer questions. If the cops walk up to you to stop you living lawfully and ask you questions, you don't need to be nice. Facts. Yeah, that's the only situation you would. You can always say, I plead the fifth, or I don't answer questions without a lawyer present. Yep. Yeah, so maybe we'll I'll have you come up at the end and we'll hash this out. But we might be talking past each other. All right. So he was saying it's not fair.
But yet you see me with a uniform, you automatically judge me, and I don't think that's fair.
Well, because that comes from her experience. That's what she's trying to say. It's like as soon as the uniform is put on, the badge,
exactly.
It's like, and for most,
Ego trip.
because I'm in that work, and I see it, and it's like the ego comes in, or that power. And as human beings, we must feel like we're in control. It just seems to be an innate thing within all of us. Oftentimes, people with titles and roles allow the titles and roles to justify what they do.
Facts.
The good is there. The good is there. There's 4 of you right here. You have some conscience. That's what I'm hearing.
Committing a crime is never justified.
Right. So moving on to our next prompt. Committing a crime is never justified. That means there is not one single situation. There's not one single situation that breaking the law is justified. Yeah, right. I don't think that what, you can't see me? Are we good? All right, I'm gonna keep talking. Tell me if you can what's going on. Yeah, so I would say the there absolutely is using the word never is what's catching me up, because there's always going to be an exception to the rule. Hey, we got Veronica in the building. Welcome to the party. So you disagree with committing a crime is never justified. All right, I think I'm with you. Oh no, that's just, when I gotta, do some stuff. Don't worry about that. Welcome to the party, Veronica. David says, if these cops say crime is never justified, they are full of ish. Like there's never been a bad egg in their department that they didn't rat on. Facts. Absolutely. There's no way. Let's see.
Does anybody agree with the prompt?
No.
So no, yeah. There's exactly what they're saying is exactly what MJ's saying. I know there's some really stupid laws out there right now. You can think about the red flag laws. Certainly. All right, now we're all on the same.
Everything is a crime now.
Can the disagreeer step forward?
So everybody disagreed with that.
That prompt, it's a very open-ended question. I shared a part of my story earlier about the person, the officer, who was there to protect, serve, and he committed a crime against me.
So if you are just joining us or you didn't hear what she was talking about, there was some interaction where she was with a cop, and the cop was supposed to be helping her, and then took her into an alley and RP'd her. So obviously a terrible, horrible thing. MJ says, I know there. Oh yeah, we got that one. Yeah, good question. I don't know who would agree with that one.
Was he justified?
So let's hear that back. So she's talking about an RPA
Was
situation.
there to protect, serve, and he committed a crime against me. Was he justified? Because he's a police officer, a detective.
Of course
I
not.
forgave him. And so that's why I couldn't step forward, because I had to pause for a second. I have to take a neutral stance here, because that's not our reality.
I was
Facts.
14 years old, and I was deciding to not go to school.
Stupid.
And my stepdad came up and yanked a cover out from underneath me, and I hit the ground off of a bunk bed. And I got up cussing him, and he slapped me across my face, and I was the one that was taken to juvenile hall.
Damn.
But damn it, my crime was justified. You know, I think with anybody,
Well, but that wouldn't, self-defense is not a crime. Self-defense is not a crime.
any crime that is committed, there's a reason, there's a background, there's a story.
There you go.
There's circumstances that you have to find out. And
That is true, but sometimes those circumstances I'm just trying to get over because San Francisco just made a law that you're not gonna be held in jail, and anything under $1,000 is just a ticket. There is also the flip side of it, where the same old story of my family is hungry and I don't have any money and we need to do this, so we stole a loaf of bread. That is not most of the crime in America. That is not what most of the crime is. Yeah, so I don't know if you, I thought you were here. She was saying she got R-paid by a cop. MJ said there was more than what she is saying about this. How the fuck do you know that?
And us as police officers, that's our job, and we'll take it from there.
So none of you as officers stepped forward and felt like it was unjustifiable the minute that you put your badge on to commit a crime?
No.
Not one of you?
Wait, what? She's asking if they would step forward saying, oh yeah, now I have the what?
We'll take it from there.
So none of you as officers stepped forward and felt like it was unjustifiable the minute that you put your badge on to commit a crime?
Oh, okay. I thought she was saying the opposite. So she's saying none of you step forward to say that, yes, once I'm in this uniform and wearing this badge, there is no more justification because I am the law. That's what she's asking. Okay, got it. Oh, gotcha. Gotcha.
No,
That's a great
I,
one.
I,
Of you,
I feel like it's
she just asked
justified.
for an instant.
Right. I feel like some things are justified for basic survival.
I'm just curious, if
deal
out
with,
of 4 of you didn't have that one concept and you took an oath to protect and serve my community, his community, your community, her community, and not one of you stepped forward, I was going to step forward and challenge it. I hesitated and went back because I wanted to rethink it. Not one of you felt like when you put on that badge and that tool belt that there was no justifiable reason to commit a crime because it'd be self-defense, right?
Some things are justified. I just said basic survival.
Good. I mean, good on her. That is well placed.
I deal with transients all the time, right? They go and steal something. My department requires me to do something when somebody steals something. Now,
Requires me to do something. What does doing something mean? And how tightly how tightly is that enforced? I think they're doing all right. Fair enough.
I have a
do I think it's right? No, but he's hungry. It's my job, so I have to do something or I'm gonna get fired. Can I pull out my card and pay
I've
for
done
it?
that.
No,
Yes.
I've done that.
But I can't. My department doesn't allow me to do that. So
That seems like a weird rule that you could easily carry some cash on you and just help people out.
can't do that. I have to do something. They say, hey, I want him to go to jail. He's going to jail based on what that person said. With your situation,
I was just following orders. Didn't work at the Nuremberg trials. It ain't gonna work here. I could do anything. I was yep, exactly. Didn't work for the Nazis. It's not gonna work for you.
if she would have took the knife to the officer, that's justified to me, right? In my eyes.
But that's not a crime. That's not a crime.
Now, do we being justified and dealing with the consequences are two different things?
I'm totally accountable. My years in prison made me 100% accountable for me in every action that I do and every thought that I make. So I've served federal and state prison. I have a parole until 2036 for narcotics. I've never hurt anybody. Nobody's ever overdosed from my drugs. I just got caught under the Reagan laws. I was raised in there. I've created my deepest friendships that I have in there. I've left women behind in there. The problem is that when I found myself in trouble since I've been home, the last number I would call is anything with a 11, 211, 411, or 911. My loss of faith and belief in the whole entire police community is gone.
So many of us feel exactly the same way. And while I might be up here saying, of course, we have to have cops and the cops have to have guns and we have to understand that their job is dangerous, and that doesn't mean that I don't completely agree with everything she just said. And that's why we're talking about it. It's a complicated issue. But I mean, the trust and faith in any of our institutions. Cops were first. The cops were the first ones that were like, oh, they're. But we had big pharma. Now it's education. Now it's the schools. You would think that you would be allowed to do that. But I mean, I'm sure they have some stupid justification for it, but come on. And if you didn't take you didn't take an oath once you put the badge on to never break a law, then it seems like you could bend that rule a little bit. And they said it seems odd, but it was back towards the business in the community, demanding that the person stealing had to be held accountable. And they didn't want the cops to let them off. It seems odd, but it was back towards the businesses and communities demanding the person stealing had to be held accountable. And they didn't want cops to let them off. I'm sorry, guys. Maybe it's me. Maybe I'm just like cloudy, but I'm not understanding what you guys are talking about. Any business wouldn't let other civilians pay for the item. Back towards the businesses in the community, demanding that the person stealing had to be held accountable. I just gotta skip over it, guys. I don't know what this means. Fair enough.
It ain't no 2% of you in my eyes. There ain't no 1%, because you might be a hero one day, and then 16 years later, back against the corner, lose everything you stood for.
Facts. There is not one cop. There's not one cop that would put your freedom or safety in front of their reputation when it comes to that kind of stuff. I'm not saying that cops don't put themselves in danger. I've been singing that song the whole time, but they don't care because they don't have to. Yeah, I mean, it's crazy.
And it happens. We're humans.
Just a prompt. Anything that you've done to get you where you were was never justified.
If you look at justifiable, no, I was greedy. I was taught to hustle.
But why did you start?
Because I was hungry.
You were justified, but you're still going to get arrested. That's what I'm saying.
No, I don't justify it. I'm accountable. See, there's a difference. You can't.
That's not what I'm saying. I understand where you come from, but I'm still going to arrest you. I'm still going to do my job.
Because this is a job.
Yeah.
Right. But again, it's my job. But again, with the idea, no. If you are hungry, go get a job like the rest of us. We all get hungry. So it's not justified. Oh my God, these guys are just, I don't know, maybe it's me. MJ said, and so MJ was saying businesses were the ones in the community demanding the police departments follow the law, and didn't allow police or other people to pay for the item that a person stole. There is no victimless crimes. I agree with that. You might not care that it hits an insurance company, but it eventually leads to a person. Correct again. That's not true. Yeah, it always, until you get ran over, until you kill somebody. Just because something didn't happen doesn't mean it can't happen. So the fact that it may happen to have been victimless doesn't mean that is a victimless crime. That means that crime cannot create a victim. That's what the understanding of a victimless crime is. Like, yes, individual instances may be the case, but that may be the case that there is no physical consequence. And it just says, okay, Melted My Media, if you think that stealing is a victimless crime, then we should probably stop while we're both ahead. I thought you were going to come in hot and say, all right, then I'm about to come and steal all your shit. Until. Yeah, I mean, but you can't know that the idea is that you can't know whether you're going to hit someone until you do it. You can't speed with you can't drive with the intention of speeding, knowing that you're not going to hit anything. You can't know that. I mean, yeah, we do live by individual cases, but that's not necessarily what we were talking about. We were talking about a crime being victimless. And so okay, if you want to say there are absolutely crime incidences that don't have a victim, then sure. But any given crime can lead to a victim. I'm just saying, it's like the tree in the forest. Does it make a sound? Just because you aren't there, then you don't know. I guess. I don't know if that's exactly the same thing, but fair enough.
I'm still going to do it. So I understand your story. I hear you, but you're still going to jail. That's what I'm saying. Is it justified? I get it. You were hungry. You had to do what you had to do. You had to do what you had to do to survive. I get it. But you're still going to jail.
You're doing a job that the department told you to do.
Right.
You just said that, would you want it to come out your pocket to probably feed the person that was stealing something because they're hungry? Because in your humanity, you know what it's like to be hungry.
Agreed.
But in your job, you know that if you don't do what you're told, and the procedures and stuff, that you're going to get in trouble. You probably lose that job, and that's not something you want to do, because you also have to feed your family and feed yourself, right?
Absolutely.
So I think we can all agree, some of you have good intentions and you go in with that. But it's a department that has a culture of violence. You can't help but to pick up some of those traits.
And I am not one. I mean, you guys know, if you first time here, welcome. But you guys know, I am not about like this. Oh, systemic systems that are systemically racist, all that shit. But to say that there's not a violent culture with the police is, I mean, obviously there is. Obviously, there's a culture of disrespecting certain types of people. I'm not even necessarily pointing to race. That does absolutely come into it, but just certain types of people, and dehumanizing them. You have to. In order to stay sane and be a cop, you can't look at citizens as the same as the cops. You just can't. It won't work. You'll go insane. You'll feel bad. David said, "I don't like that, but there's potential for a victim. But there was no, so it is victimless. But I do understand where you're coming from. Fair enough. I'll give you that one.
A number one, because you want your job. A number one. So I served 27 years in prison, in a maximum security prison for women.
Damn.
I had a sentence of 25 to life for the crimes of kidnapping and murder. That's what I was convicted of.
Okay.
Did I do it? That's a different story. No person that represented a system helped me. Punishment has become the response to every damn thing in this country.
Because it's like, we're out in the street living every day to survive. We're out in the street doing our own thing. When you guys as colleagues come after us.
That was good. You see what he did? Instead of said when you guys, he said when your guys colleagues. Smart. Good. Good point. Melted Mind said, I literally said there's a victim. I was saying stealing is not a victimless crime. Well, then we all agree.
Like, at what point does it justify your colleagues to do all that stuff just because they have that badge? When y'all colleagues are shooting at us, how does that justify you guys' crimes? That's what I understood from her. I understood, like, when you guys are, that's what I got.
Yes, I was agreeing with what she's saying.
You're out in the streets and, you guys come and do all this and that. Who's calling? Who's calling us to get to where you're at?
All right, let me give you a perfect example, right?
Okay.
Let's say I have a broken down car.
Okay.
I have a broken down car and nobody called you. You just happen to see a broken down car. And I have my emergency lights on too, so I'm declaring that I'm having an emergency situation.
Okay.
You see me out and about, I'm on my phone, I'm in a safe area on this side, on the right side of my vehicle. Where
I'm liking this so far. Because you guys know how important I think analogies and hypotheticals are for these types of conversations. So he's setting up a nice, clear picture.
I'm not in imminent danger. I'm following all my protocols. Let's say I even go as far as putting a road flare or a cone from like a traffic kit. I cover all my T's and A's, you know? I'm literally trying to avoid you because I don't like you. So I'm doing everything I gotta do, but here you go. Woo, 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 woo. Hey, what's up? Do you need help? And I'm like, no, sir, I don't need any help. I've called AAA, they're on their way. I verbally communicated with you that I'm good. I'm in no imminent danger. I've put my cones up. I'm waiting for AAA. I've relayed to you, verbally communicated that I'm okay. I'm not bleeding. You're not seeing anything going on with me that would attract you to come after me.
Great job. Again, great job. And I'm going to come back to this, David, actually. Let's just finish this one.
But here you are, grabbing at your belt, pulling at your thing, just seeking for something to go after. Immediately seeking, like you're like a predator, bro. You're literally hawking eye into your target, and you're like, I'm gonna.
And if this doesn't, if you can't relate to this situation, then you're lucky. You don't live in an area where this is an issue. But I don't live in anything close to what could be called a bad area. I mean, it's not a super nice area, but it's not a bad area by any stretch of anyone's imagination. And this is exactly how all of my interactions, not all of them, but most of my interactions with cops have been most of the time when I wasn't doing something illegal. Or I mean, like wasn't doing, I was doing something illegal in the sense that I was speeding, but it was, like I'm not talking about the times when I had drugs on me. I'm not, that's not what I'm talking about. But yeah, David brought up a good point here. It says, I don't like that. Who's calling? People can be Karens. We already talked about things like the red flag laws. Yup. MC says, however, with this situation, where is the car broken down at? He already said somewhere safe off on the road where he's not in imminent danger. How many movies have we seen where the criminals make it look innocent while they're scoping out a crime? So where cops patrols, there's a reason they patrol there. That's true. But again, in the situation, he's talked to him already. He said, no, thank you. I don't need help. And they try to poke around and prod and find something. The fact is, I understand that if your goal is to find crimes and take them out of society, but you have to respect the rights of people. We have rights that supersede your rights as a police officer, until we give them up by actually committing a crime. David says these people have very well thought out, articulate arguments. Yeah, I'm liking it.
To get them, boom, and then here you go. You been drinking today? I'm like, bro, I just told you I don't need your help. Like I'm sitting here waiting for my AAA to come with a flat tire because I got a wheel lock. Okay. Oh, so but have you been drinking today? Are you on probation or parole? Immediately it's like, dude, I'm in distress. Right. I've advised you I don't need your help. Right. Put up all my flares, crossed all my T's, dotted all my I's, but you continue to push the subject.
Yep.
Have you ever go as far?
So, but where, what, but why does this matter? Why does this matter? You're doing exactly what we're accusing the cops of doing. It's not your fucking business. You've come over, you've asked, you've said we've said that it's safe. You've had a conversation. You said, I'm good. I'm just waiting for AAA. But we want them to do that. How many times have we become mad at the police for not stopping a crime? I mean, yeah, at Uvalde, when there's an active shooter and you're standing right there, but not stopping people who are already, stopped and handling their business and have told you that they don't want your help. I don't know I wish I lived where you live, because it sounds like your cops are fantastic. And so literally we should be suspicious because we've seen similar worst case scenarios in movies. Come on now, MJ. Good point. Look at the man that was stopped by the police, but now has been arrested for killing those students in Idaho. Didn't hear about it. They were nice and didn't probe. Then the media dumped on how police didn't check up more on the pullover. Well, not me. I'm not the media, so take that up with them.
It's like pulling your gun. Why are you getting hostile, sir?
Yeah, I'm not saying it doesn't happen. I'm just saying.
Why are you getting hostile, sir?
Look at this is the face of, ooh, you got me.
Perfect. Click. You good?
Yeah, so
I feel like you're getting hostile, sir. Put your hands where I can see them. Click. Okay. There we go.
So I'm going to tell you what I always just say in the streets when I work
patrol. Do we agree here?
This is what I was going to say. I'm going to tell you what I always say in patrol. and this is what I said in my earlier comment where we get painted with this broad brush. First of all, I would have given you a ride. When you say you, I just want to make sure and be clear that me personally.
That's why I have AAA though.
Stop the cap.
Hold on. Let me finish. Let me finish. What I'm saying is that in my mind, you're speaking about me personally, I would have helped you no matter what.
No, we are not talking about you personally. We are talking about the police. Where's my SpongeBob meme with the rainbow? Imagination. It's not about you.
But I don't need your help. I've advised you, verbally told you.
That's
when
fine.
you were 10
and you
feet
know
away,
what?
and you kept coming towards me.
I would have took off
When
and
you
went
were
to
like
Starbucks and
15
got a
feet away.
cup. I would have took off, went to Starbucks and got a cup. I
How is that relevant to the conversation?
understand that. But what I'm saying is that I'm going to tell you what I always used to say when I used to work in the streets. You know what? I can't speak and I can't feel what you feel.
So why did you?
Let me finish.
See what
Let
I
me
mean?
finish.
You guys are predators, bro. Exactly. Nobody called you. Who called you?
You're not letting me
So
finish.
who called you?
You're not letting me
But
finish.
that was my question. That was your question, right? Who called
Did I
you?
let you speak?
But nobody called you.
Can
I speak? Can I say something? Because I feel like
he doesn't understand the. Can we get a little
like
protocol
that's what he
here,
started
the
off
Q&A,
with.
where he talks and then I talk?
Yeah.
Because
Like, he's not letting me talk. I want to say a thing just because he got me in a good point. Like, I don't think the guy's doing this on purpose, but is exactly doing to the cops what cops do to people, and they can't even see it. They can't even see. This is exactly what you do to other people. And maybe not you personally, but we're not talking about is Ron or whatever the hell your name is. We're talking about the police in America in general.
he's not letting me talk.
Okay, you can respond, and then I
Okay.
want to hear from Star, and then we
Yeah.
have to go to the next
And
part.
can you just please let me finish? Okay.
I mean, I'm answering the valid points validly, Just saying.
You're not letting me. You know what? Disregard.
it's good. We don't
not
gotta
letting
agree,
me
but
finish
I
what I'm
gotta.
Great de-escalation tactics, sir. I'm so see how quickly he got upset with just a conversation where he was getting interrupted. He wasn't allowed to speak his piece. But how quick are you going to give up on trying to be nice at a traffic stop? Not a good look, bro.
Say like
What I'm trying to.
But you gotta have more patience as a police officer.
Well, no,
You just got a quick snap, and I can.
No,
you always gotta be right. Like
Got him.
No, I'm
You-
just
you don't
used to
always gotta be
arguing. When
right.
I argue, I always
think
let the person speak as much as you can.
I think he just
and
wanted,
then once.
the crime that was committed, like when I was a kid, I wanted to be a cop. I saw the cops. I grew up in the 90s, so they would give baseball cards, and I thought the cops were the coolest things because I had a real bad childhood, like with my parents, and I didn't really have friends like that. But the cops would be there. But the second I got my lowrider bike, like the cops would pull me over and give me tickets, and I'd be like, "Why don't you stop them over there?" It's like, "Well, we're stopping you. How are we gonna stop them?"
Same thing. My second car was a 4-door Honda Civic, automatic piece of crap. And I was 17. I had a job and I didn't have anything else to do. And I had a friend who was really into cars. So I bought some rims, I bought some taillights, I bought this, that. The amount of times I got pulled over in that thing. And I am not some big presence. I am 5'4". So to think that there was any reason to be hostile towards me is ridiculous. If that's how you're treating me, how are you treating the big black dude who you're pulling over next? Again, I'm not the race car guy, but what are we talking about here? David Banner says, exactly. In public, when does his frustration turn into harming a civilian? What is it? How many interactions do police have in a day with civilians? What does that have to do with anything?
And then I would get tickets constantly. I was just a kid. I didn't know what I was doing. I like the lowrider culture, and they would give me tickets all the time. Then my parents would be like, "Why are you getting tickets?" Like, I don't know. They just keep stopping me. And then like maybe I'll ditch school, and the cops will like sometimes they'll get me from a certain neighborhood and drop me off in a like far away from my house, like or sometimes. And I was a minor, and they'll get me from the streets and take me to the police station, which I found out later was illegal. That and they made me to who I am. And they made me think that I was a bad guy.
So David's saying that's the point, MJ. If one person makes him frustrated like that, what is he going to do when he has to be a policeman to the next civilian, and then the next one, and then the next one, and then the next one, and then the next one? And you were the one who was saying before that, oh, well, we don't know what he's dealt with. So maybe I didn't know that I had a taillight out. I didn't know. So you pull me over, and I'm frustrated because I've had a long day too. We both had a long day. Okay, fine. My taillight's out. Give me the damn ticket. Whatever. I'm being respectful, but I'm clearly not in a good mood because I've already had a bad day and now I'm getting pulled over and getting a ticket. But I'm being respectful. Here you go, sir. Yep. Whatever. If we are giving them the justification to keep that with them, maybe he just came from a shooting. Maybe he just came from a DV situation and some girl was battered up. That doesn't excuse him from then pulling me over with my unknown broken taillight and getting all aggressive with me. That's just not how it works. Well, actually, it is how it works, but that's not how it's supposed to work.
Until like I realized almost like 13 years ago, I don't got to be that bad guy no more. But the cops made me who I was.
And I'll share, like, I've never served any time like that. I was arrested as a 13-year-old. You know, literally, I still looked like I was 10. I was smoking weed at the park, and I got immediately apprehended, taken into custody. I got handcuffed behind my back, and then I got placed in a cop car with no divider. It was like a park cop, you know, so no divider. And then when he started asking me about my name and stuff. So I was like the adolescent phases. I didn't want to answer him. I didn't have to.
Why not?
Nope.
Though?
He's a minor.
Because I'm a minor. You don't have to interrogate me without my parents.
Immediately, this guy's sharing his experience with you. Well, why didn't you talk to them? This is exactly what we're saying that you do, bro. You're doing it right now. He doesn't have to answer the cop, and he sure as shit doesn't have to answer you. He was a child who had no parents there, who wanted to exercise his right to remain silent. Well, why? Why didn't you just talk? What are you hiding? Did you get in some trouble today? Well, you seem nervous. This is what they do.
You don't have the right to talk to them.
That's incorrect. You committed a crime.
See? But I mean, you know.
But I don't think you're.
All right,
I don't think you're.
No. But you just proved everybody's point.
One second.
But I'm the good cop, right?
1 second. Gotcha.
So without the barrier, and he kept asking me questions, and I just simply didn't want to answer him. I didn't have to at that point, you know. So he got upset that I didn't, you know, volunteer with whatever his demands were, and he just punched me in the chest as a handcuffed 13-year-old kid, knocked the wind out of me, whatever, you know. It went as far as violating my rights. I never even knew that I could have told his commanding officers or even the watch commander once I got to the jail, yo, this guy like sucker punched me in the chest, like he knocked the wind out of me, he abused me, he abused a minor. I didn't know any of that. Now,
and guess what would happen if you said something? I'm like, I don't give a fuck. I shouldn't have broke the law. Which is true. You shouldn't break the law. But that's not a justification to punch a minor.
now that I'm an adult, because I'm a felon, because of course that, you know, escalated into more things like getting marijuana. And marijuana was hella illegal back then. I'll be damned if you guys mess with me like all over again. And that has happened to me.
I get it.
That's why I got road flares in my car. That's why I keep like a kit. You know?
I get it.
He's like, I get it. Do you know how many, when's the last time you were treated this way? Just asking, when's the last time you were treated this way? And especially if you know that you are a cop, so you're around cops all the time, and you're having neutral to positive interactions with civilians. You also have to understand that, again, you are the cop. Most civilians don't have that many interactions with the police. And you all step forward saying that it's blown out of proportion with social media and everything. So wouldn't you expect that people would be a little nervous around cops? But, well, if you're going to be rude, then I'm going to be too. What? That's a bullshit. Okay. Well, at least we're on the same page on that one.
I cross all my T's and dot all my I's, dude.
Criminals who commit violent felonies don't deserve certain legal rights.
All right. Criminals who commit violent felonies don't deserve certain legal rights. So we only need to think there's one right that we would need to come up with, that if you're a violent felon, you don't deserve this right. If we can't come up with one, that means there's no legal rights that they don't deserve. I think I don't know. I mean, I'm definitely thinking about like the offender list. There's definitely rights that those people, but legal rights. They mean in the course of the legal process, or just like your rights. I don't know. Let's see.
You know what? I'm sorry, I can't do this.
What?
Do this episode no more. It's not making any sense. The questions just don't make sense to me. I can't really get my point across how I want to. And the questions are kind of like reversed. Like it's like you're asking the question, but you kind of. I can't do it.
I totally understand.
So I can't do it.
You can always share whether you agree or disagree.
I can't be on camera doing that.
I totally understand.
I'm trying to get my point across at the police. You know what I mean? But I can't do that.
Yeah.
Like, I can't do that. And if I can even get my point across, there's no point in me being here.
So
I'm out of here.
Okay. All right. So David says, nope. Who has determined their rights? Judges, the government. Are they 100% guilty? I don't trust any government to decide that because of how flawed the legal system can be. I understand that, but there obviously are people who we have to have some system, right? And we know that the system, as flawed as it is arguably the best one in the world. I don't know. I mean, I'm with you, but we have to have something. Obviously, we don't know 100% guilty, and I don't trust the government either. But that's why I'm not in favor of the death penalty. But we still have to have an agency, of flawed or otherwise, that has that authority. As much as I hate that has to be the case, that has to be the case. It is a tough question. MJ is saying humans are flawed. We can only make systems as unflawed as we are. Yeah. So, but I do. I'm going back to what David said. I'm thinking nope, but not because of who's determining their rights. Because if we all agree that the person, because at the end of the day, you're judged by a jury of your peers, unless you plead out. But because again, I go back, if you're on the offender list, you certainly shouldn't be allowed to, be around children. But I'm not sure how it's going to play out. Veronica says, what is she talking about? Excluding certain criminals from legal rights? No, everyone is a human, and you just apply laws to everyone accordingly. Yeah, I think I like that better. Thank you, Veronica. And she says, we are trying to assume what rights they are talking about, like voting, living a certain distance from schools. Yeah, that's what I'm not sure exactly what they're talking about. So let's.
Can we take a smoke break then? Oh, I can? Oh, yes.
I fear.
Oh, they're just going to skip it. They're just going to skip the whole prompt. All right. I guess they got Scar back. Let's say simply that MJ, that I never said cops will be violent or harm civilians because of previous interactions. I'm saying that they are prone to it. And that is, and that they have the ability to F you up. Not that they for sure will, but they can because they had a bad day or whatever an excuse could be. Yep. That's exactly it. That is not okay. I don't care if you had a bad day. As Veronica said, apply the laws to everyone accordingly, equally. It did say certain rights. It said certain legal rights. That's what it said. Did I miss one? This is why you convict people when they are proven guilty and not otherwise. When you take that away, you give the system a way of being falsely accused. But taking away voting rights just lays upon laws also. Yeah, we We were talking about that. I don't know if you were here, but we were talking about that. And according to Melted Mind Media, you can apply to get your, or no, we were talking about, what were we talking about? Yeah, but you can apply to have your voting rights back as long as it wasn't, a violent crime or a domestic, like a DV thing.
The other side.
So I guess they're just moving on, and they're going to, I fear, the other side. So for us, I guess, I mean, unless you've been arrested, we'll just change it from cops and ex-convicts to cops and citizens. Absolutely, I fear the other side. They have a monopoly on violence. They are allowed to do violence. I'm not. And they can, there's so much wiggle room in the law that we're only just now seeing some big cases to hold cops accountable. I mean, Rodney King, come on. Yeah, they're doing what I'm doing with these tough questions. I don't know. Wrong one, man. I appreciate that, MJ. That was the wrong link. That was the Timcast one. But I definitely appreciate this. Thank you very much. All right. So what are my predictions? I think the convicts are definitely going to step forward. And I think they're all going to step forward.
Step forward if you agree.
That's bullshit. That's
I
bullshit.
think, it's part of their job to put fear in us, but it shouldn't. Every time just for a traffic ticket or just being stopped on the street, it was always like guns drawn right away. And every time
Thank you, MJ.
they point their guns at me, especially towards my back when I'm not even looking, like it just gives me this fear. And then not only that, they like to manhandle you. They like to grip on your knuckles when I already know the procedure. I spread my legs and I try to do everything right, and they still try to manhandle you each time. They try to hold you so you can react and do something.
Mm-hmm.
It's like that. It's like their job is to incriminate us.
Yup.
And for every traffic ticket, it was always I always had my driver license, my insurance. So every time they will come at me, I'll start cursing them out. That was me. That was my whole, from ever since I turned 18 to I was 30, I was just cursing them out every chance I get, and I'll love it because they'll give me a ticket each time, and I'll be okay, I don't care, I'm paying for my freedom, and that was the cost of my freedom.
Based. I don't suggest going down that road, but that is pretty based. I heard something about this idea, the cost of freedom, and how laws are only for people who can't afford them. Because even if you think of you think of simple things like parking tickets that can jam people up, get them arrested, and if you have the money, you can park wherever you want. It's just the price goes up. So for him to say that's the cost of my freedom, that's pretty based. And it says, for the people watching, have you had a traffic ticket and have you had guns pulled on you? Question from MJ. Replay gang, let us know in the comments below. Thank you very much. David said, I don't know how to pose my answer exactly. I'm not paralyzed by fear of cops, but it's more like cautious and aware. Yeah, I'm not like, oh no, the cops, I don't know what to do. But I'm trying to do everything exactly right when I get pulled over, because I know that even though it shouldn't be this way, all this stuff about having a bad interaction, having a bad day, I know that could end up potentially, not definitely, but potentially, as David was saying, could end up in me getting, anything from just having a bad night, getting locked up, to dying, and anything in between. Melted Mind says no traffic tickets and never had a gun pulled on him. That's lucky you. MG says, I was pulled over and the cop was very intimidating to me. 6'3 plus, built like a linebacker from North Carolina, state trooper, no guns. I was going fast, but he scared the crap out of me. Yeah, I think that has a lot to do with gender. I'm just gonna put it out there. Yeah, not terrified, but certainly fearful. You're going way too fast. I've been there, but
my freedom, but I did fear for my life each time. Every time like they manhandle me and talk down to me, all I would think about was my kids. Like
I'll say that the worst part is when they take your license and insurance, everything, go back to the car. That's for me, because that's the time, like by the time he comes back, he's either got a ticket in hand or he's ready for some bullshit. So that's the moment I'm like, please, please, please just come back with a ticket. I'll pay the ticket. I don't care. Just don't, rip my whole car apart. And I don't even have anything on me. I just don't want to deal with this, especially in the winter. Oh my God. I had my whole car torn apart one time. I didn't know that, I have my medication and I have some on me, when I go to work. I have a backpack and I have some on me because I don't necessarily know if I'm going to need it. But I had it in a different bottle, which I guess it makes sense to carry the entire month's prescription around with you all day, every day. But apparently you're not allowed to put it in a different container. So even though I had the paperwork in the car from when you pick up the prescription and has the information, because it was in a different bottle, they were so sure that I was selling it. And he's like, we already know you're doing this. So I'm just like, sir, I don't want to argue with you, but I'm telling you that is incorrect. I don't know what else to tell you. That is not correct. This is my medication. I take it when I need it, and I don't sell it because I need it. And he kept trying to push me. And luckily, I only had to spend an hour sitting outside on the ground with just a hoodie in the middle of winter. But yeah, that was for... what did I get pulled over for originally? I don't even think anything. Sometimes just certain areas in my hometown, like they just pull you over just to see. Like, oh, we thought we saw something. And just so how common are traffic offenses result in what this guy is saying, considering the number of traffic citations being given a day across the entire country? Not a lot, but it shouldn't happen at all. So of the times it does happen, then we have to ask, it should only ever happen when the criminal is escalating it there. Even one time of a cop escalating things and making things more aggressive is wrong. That's not my responsibility as the citizen. Yeah. Yep. Ultima Media says, bro, a guy I work with got pulled over going 60 and a 30. He is Mexican and got a verbal warning. Good. Yeah, I mean, there are, there's cops out there who are just like, look, I don't even want to deal with the paperwork right now. Why I'm adding the comment about number of interactions and the number of these situations are important. While it's still not okay for the people that do have this happen and turns out as unnecessary, is it overblown? No, I think that is something to justifiably blow up over. I don't mean like I'm the cop in the situation, but to be angry about that is, I think, completely reasonable. Yeah, so something like that is more case by case. Veronica said, "I'm sorry I had to go through that. That's all right. I've been through worse. That shouldn't have been enough to warrant probable cause to search it. Yeah, I was just on my way home from work. I had my work clothes on. I smelled like a kitchen. I'm like, dude, I'm just going home. Like, I'm clearly, not whatever. But sometimes they gotta fill them quotas right before they tell you they don't have quotas.
Like, damn, if my kids wanted to see how these people act, because my kids look up to me, but to see the cops like act this way and then laugh about it." Who are these people? Like they bring fear to the community. They don't bring any peace or nothing like that. And that's how I grew up. I grew up with so much aggression towards the cops, like so much aggression, until I realized, you know what? I'm not who they made me to be.
I have a dangerous job, just like how you have children. I don't know if everybody has children. I want to go home to see my children, so I don't necessarily fear the other side. I just fear what could happen if I let my guard down while I'm doing my job.
That's the exact same thing. That is the exact same thing. I'm not afraid of the other side, but I'm just afraid of what the other side can do to me. Okay, bro. Keep that ego intact.
That's it. Once you start off aggressive, I kind of have to match that because in the back of my head,
why
do
you have to match that? Why can't you de-escalate? You can ask, why are you being aggressive? Why do you have to match that energy? In certain situations, yes, maybe you do want to, give your appearance of authority to somebody like me, where if you get in my face, I'm good. All right. But if that's automatically, hey, there's disrespect. If you're aggressive, I gotta be aggressive. That's not your job. That's not what it's supposed to be like. Not at all.
You being aggressive. I have to understand, hey, he's being aggressive for some reason.
No, you don't have to understand. Unless he's being directly aggressive towards you or other people, he can speak as aggressively as he wants.
I don't want to die. I don't want you to die. You don't want to die. I would hope that you don't want me to die.
So then don't escalate the situation.
And we just meet in the middle right there.
Yeah, actually, back then I would hope a car hits them or something, because the cops will come out with their guns drawn. It wasn't even I'll just be spooked, and once they come to me, I'll be like, you mother, like I'll just go off on them.
In my younger days, like I never just pointed my gun for no reason.
Again, I, me. It's not about you. That's the most frustrating thing about this whole video, is that they keep bringing it back to their own personal, as if they're going to bring in, damn, I wish I could remember the guy's name. Mark Harmon? Was that the super racist guy in the OJ trial? Like they're going to bring him in and he's going to be honest about being a racist cop. Like, come on, bro. Do better. It just says, do you think this guy would have given a response that would have been productive? This guy already seemed to be in his camp about the police. I agree with you. He definitely is in his camp, but he seemed like he was interested in listening. And I don't know if he would have accepted anything, but the reason for videos like what Jubilee is doing is not for those people in the video to convince each other of anything. It is for us to watch and to draw a conclusion from other people who have a different experience than we do. David says he has to match that energy because that is the established culture in which he has been carrying himself and is allowed to conduct himself. Yep. Well, the cops seem to be in their camp about how they think. Facts. Yep. Well, it shouldn't be personal for both sides. It should be personal for one side, and it should be professional for the other. Because one of them is on the job, and one of them is not. I agree.
But I was, what the, what, whoa. Now it's like, oh, okay.
I mean, it's just interesting how all you guys stayed back there and didn't come. And I think you guys decided to come and show that you do have fear, but I don't think you guys really fear us, the way we fear you. You keep saying that it's not you, and he's gonna keep saying that it's not him. So who is it? Nobody?
As if it's black and white. Do I fear you? No. I don't even know you to fear you.
I signed up for the fact that one day I'm going to get shot. And 20 plus years ago, I couldn't agree with you more. I totally understand that brutality and how we treat people. We treat them like I get that.
Facts, David.
Fast forward 25 years ago, because of all that treatment that we did, now you have ambushes. You got situations where suspects, people are coming up at cops and just executing them. And so when the prompt says, do I fear the other side? Well, yeah, I mean, the other side is someone who wants to take my life out. And
yeah, absolutely, David. The fears are not equal. I'm just saying I disagree. It's personal for both people. A job doesn't remove your humanity and yourself. You are not the job. You are a person. Some people are better than others at what they do, and those that do bad need to find a different job or career. Well, I mean, yeah, I agree that if you can't handle being professional at your job, then you need to find a different job. That doesn't mean that it's okay that you were unprofessional on your job because you couldn't handle it. I didn't tell you to go become a cop. It's just a little odd how you said that you hold cops to a higher standard, but at every turn you keep treating the parties as if they're equal in the situation, as if one doesn't have the ability to call an army of people to kidnap and arrest you. That's a good point too, David. I signed up knowing I'll get shot. It's just like, well, what do I have to lose then? We might have a different opinion on what was being unprofessional here. We didn't see anyone being professional or unprofessional here. Nobody here is at their job. Well, except me, but they're not being cops right now. We're taking instances like when the black dude got all got all defensive, and when they all keep saying, well, me and I and this and that, when the convicts are talking about their experiences with cops, and they keep, I don't know you, I've never seen you. Like, okay, well, I'm not talking about you, I'm talking about my experiences. Look, I never do that. The hold the cops to what? I hold the cops to know the law better than civilians. Yeah. I'll let David handle that.
Doesn't even know me. And I suppose that's a consequence of what happened decades ago where we did treat people like shit.
I just had to say this straight. Let's be clear. What we're hearing right now, there's trauma, right? And
Yes.
this is triggering.
Oh, absolutely.
Right? And so what we're going off of our reality, what's happened and what continues to happen. It causes us as human beings to become defensive. It causes us to become protective. It causes us to become things that we're not.
But
we weren't born to, and it shouldn't.
It shouldn't.
Exactly.
Like I should not have to
Exactly.
stay inside my house and become an
And I heard
introvert.
him.
And it's like, why can't I enjoy my freedoms? I'm a tax-paying American. I mean, I know I'm a.
I relate to that so much. For so long, after my really bad arrest, I was terrified. And I guess to some extent, I'm not terrified anymore, but I've just kind of fell into this lifestyle where I don't really go out anymore. I don't really do things like I used to, because it's just like, if y'all are just going to be out here waiting for me to do something so you can jam me up, then I'm just going to stay home. I never even realized that was really connected until right now.
A felon and I can't have certain, rights, but when does my fear of you guys impede me from living my life as a free American?
I'm only 30 years old, so I'm dealing with the consequences of what people have done in the past. But it's like, I'm not like that. So it's like, I get the trauma, but it's also like, I'm trying to change it. Allow me to change it.
You know what? I do have to say something. Like, the cops from the 90s are very different from the new cops, because now they got a whole bunch of different races. Before, it was mostly whites. Yeah, so that's what I had to deal with in the 90s. But now it's a little different. I could say that.
It's different because they have different skin colors. Black officers are more likely to shoot a black person than a white officer is. This identity politics, this identity ideology is not a good way to look at the world. I think there are cops in general are better these days, but not because of the color of their skin, because of the sensitivities of our culture, better training, more responsibility and accountability, things like that. MJ says, I guess I totally don't get the point of this discussion between the cons and cops. Guys, help me out here, please. Y'all took English class, right? Use punctuation and stuff. You're just jamming shit out here. I'm trying to read. I guess I totally don't get the point of this discussion between the cons and cops became only that the cons can have their experience and allowed to be an individual, but these cops have to be cops. Yep. Cops have to be cops. If you don't want to be a cop, don't be a cop. Would you be saying this about firefighters who are not good, who are late to a fire or don't want to sell rat out their other firemen that's not doing the equipment properly or whatever? No. If it's a tough job, it's a dangerous job when you get into it. The dude just said he knew that he's going to get shot one day. So it sounds like, and that's a totally fine position to have, MJ, but it doesn't sound like you hold cops to a higher standard than civilians. Yeah, I agree. They can have their opinions, but they have a duty to conduct themselves professionally. Okay, fair enough. Fair enough.
Can the disagreeers step forward?
We're still on the same
I agree with
of what was it? Shoot, I forget. It was I fear the other side. So the two cops are coming.
this gentleman here about the job as danger factors.
MJ, it's not that I don't know if you're talking about the people on the panel or you're talking about us here. It's not that we're not hearing what they're saying. We're just not accepting it on its face because of the lived experience that ourselves and other people have had and continue to have. If you've never experienced this stuff, that's what I'm saying. If you've never experienced this, it makes sense that you're like, oh, this is crazy. But this is real life for most of us, I would say. It says they can be individuals. These cops might be the best cops out here, but they can't replace the standard of which they conduct themselves with issues like, well, I had a bad day too. Yep. The conversation seems that it doesn't matter what they say. They're a cop, but they have lived experiences and it's totally being disregarded. It's not being disregarded. How many times in this stream have I said it's, we can never take off the table. You were here. I know you were here when I said that. And I'm pretty sure this is the fourth time I'm saying it now. And I've said other things to this effect that we cannot, at no point can we take off the table understanding this is a dangerous job. I said that over and over and over and over and over again.
Coming across people out in the field and patrol, I didn't fear them because I treated them with the utmost respect.
This person just came
and
to
I
the bar
treated them
and
the way
said,
I
hey,
would
what are your
want my
pronouns?
family
Kind of
to
look
be
like a
treated
they, them.
if they were on the other end being
And,
stopped. I've had arrestees after
I hated that
going
they
to
were
the jail
right.
and processing, get them food, whatever. A handful would say, you know what, thank you for treating me with the utmost respect.
I live in anxiety every day. Every time I see a black and white cop car,
I get it.
every time I see red
I
and
get
blue
it.
lights,
I totally
a
get it.
uniform, I hear a little too much keys. I hear I just don't, little noises that come with your guys' uniform.
MJ, that's totally fair, but that's why we asked the question at the beginning of, do you hold cops to a higher standard? And I didn't specifically remember whether it was you, but I thought we were all on the same page saying that, yes, we do hold cops to a higher standard when they're on the job than we do civilians because it's their job. And it's fine if you disagree, but that's where we're coming from, is that that is your job. If you go to a school, then you would hold the teachers to a higher standard than the students. Even though we agree that students shouldn't be talking in class or this, that, or the other. Just because a student is disrespectful to a teacher doesn't make it a good idea for the teacher to match that energy. That's all we're saying. Exactly. Yeah. Well, then you're arguing something you don't believe in. I don't care they're cops. Well, then what was the discussion are we even having? Exactly.
I sat up here for 15 minutes and was going to turn around because I did not want to be in a room with 4 people that wore that badge. And it's come to that much of a broken trust because I am the most friendliest human that you'll meet. I trust everything, even a stranger walking. As soon as I see a uniform, I'm totally guarded. And I live in anxiety because of it. Me, with my parole, I could show license, registration, insurance with a smile. Oh, why you got a parole till 2036? Step out of your vehicle. Next thing you know, my little tiny belongings are on the side of the curb and it's not even getting put back together.
And then, put back together? Oh, honey, you think they're gonna put your shit back together? Oh, no.
I'm late for work. Now I gotta explain to a job that hired a felon why I'm late because someone had a pissy day and they saw that I had a parole date. If you don't know my trauma, I don't expect you to evaluate it. But I don't expect a tough tone either. Because it might trigger me, and then we both gonna be all types of bitches.
And again, who's on the job and who's not?
What?
Totally.
You know?
Totally get you.
So,
what I want to know is how you guys feel about that we're scared of you guys.
Great question. Great question. And I also was going to say something about how it almost feels like there is like the level of like the depth, let's say, the depth of conversation, the depth of feeling that's coming from the convicts is so much deeper than these surface level things that the cops are saying. Like, yes, your job is difficult. Your job is dangerous. You might get shot. We all know this. You knew this before you went in. Nobody is taking that off the table. You still choose to do it. If you can't take that, then as MJ said, who's on all your guys' side, get a different job. If you're going to take a job, you have to do that job.
I hate it. Yeah. Because how do I gauge that? I don't know. I guess I have to continue to ask questions this and that third. But I'm like, why the hell? I'm just talking to you. Like if I saw it, like I said.
Yeah, MJ. Hopefully, I think you're a seasoned vet with us over here. We definitely we're gonna be real each other, but it's all in good fun. All in good fun.
Because you can only put an animal in a corner for so long before they fight back. But I think that's what the police want. I think that they want a war. They want us to fight back. Because I wanted to fight back so long until I realized I wasn't that person. And I had to just go my way, like follow the path that God gave me, and I had to leave that alone. But I did have a uglier path that I was gonna follow. But it's like, the cops. It's like you guys make yourself our enemy.
I don't enjoy conflict.
Well, I'm saying we're all scared of you. Everybody I know is scared of the police.
When you interact with me, or with any of you guys, I'm gonna understand who you are as a person, and it kind of goes back to what he had said about match energy with.
Oh, I didn't realize you guys didn't hear that.
Energy,
But if that was the case, I mean, we don't really fear you. We're not scared. I'm not scared of you one bit. If I had a gun, we could both go at it. We'll do a duel or something like that.
Well, let me just do this.
This person just came into the bar and said, "Hey, what are your pronouns? You kind of look like a they them," and I hated that they were right.
What do you want? What you want? Say wrong pronoun bad. Say correct pronoun bad. What? What do you want?
This person just came into the bar.
Melted Mind Media distracted me in the middle of the stream.
And we'll be
all right. Let's back this up. See where we were a little bit.
When you interact with me, or with any of you guys,
my bad.
I'm gonna understand who you are as a person, and it kind of goes back to what he had said about match energy with energy.
But if that was the case, I mean, we don't really fear you. We're not scared. I'm not scared of you one bit. If I had a gun, we could both go at it. We'll do a duel or something like that, and we'll be even. Other than that, I'm not scared of you guys. But just the fact that a lot of times we don't have guns, we don't have knives. Like you guys think we're ninjas, that we're just gonna throw a knife or a fork and it's gonna land in your eye, and then you guys, that's not how we live. That's not the reality that we.
That badge gives you guys all the power.
What community are you from? Because I hear twang.
Tennessee.
Okay, so where do you police?
Tennessee.
You police in Tennessee?
Mhm.
So do you police in the community you grew up in?
I do.
Okay, so out here in LA, it's pretty different. Okay, our police, like the beat, they might live there for 25, 30 years and live over here now because they've made it out. Or they might actually come from somewhere they wanted to police, but they send them to Long Beach. So a big factor is that badge that you put on, you took a responsibility to know that I don't trust you. We can have commonalities. I probably can't have a commonality with you, even if you said that it was your passion, other than if we could get to the way above you, because you're like the bottom of the trickle effect of the system.
That's what MJ was saying. Good job, MJ.
I need friends way up there.
Yeah.
Once you put on that uniform and that badge, for me, I'm on guard no matter who you are.
Exactly. Hey, we got Nick in the building. Welcome to the party. Never late. It is only a party when we're all here. Welcome. Hope you are doing well. So Dad said, when I interact with you, I understand who you are, but you come into the interaction knowing you hold authority over the civilians you interact with. So it jades the interaction. Exactly. And ironically, I think that, we're talking about like, oh, wait till they're all the cops are just going to say, when you see what I've seen. Well, what about what we've seen? How come that doesn't matter? If I'm only ever seen bad cops, then how is I'm a good cop? How is that a response to what we're talking about? And if it's not, well, I'm the law, so I have the power. You think that the civilian you interact with is already hiding something or some kind of criminal. And again, if you don't have this type of interaction or this type of assumption that that's what the interaction is going to be, then just count yourself lucky. That's it.
You're 100% right.
I
We have a
always
lot
am.
of work to do. Shows like this, us coming together and having this dialogue, it's only going to try to get us, you know, not only just to middle ground, but to treat each other as humans. So we have a lot of work to do. I totally get it.
I agree.
Policing is necessary.
Okay, policing is necessary. Does anybody think policing is not necessary? All right, I'm going to assume. I think everybody except the one dude over way over to the right. I think they're all going to go forward, a step forward, except for that dude. Mind melted media. Come on, you don't think policing is necessary? Interesting.
Policing is necessary.
You don't do it cold like
I
that.
agree with y'all.
Cold, man.
I agree because I was kidnapped, raped, and tortured, and it was an off-duty LA sheriff officer who was out of jurisdiction playing softball. It was during payphone days. He saw red flags. He was policing. You know, he did his job. He noticed
David.
damsel in distress, I guess, and he called local authorities, and the gentleman got a double life sentence due to the horrendous crimes he committed against him. So I do believe that policing is necessary in certain perspectives. However, I'm going to be biased. I think that y'all don't need a police drug me. No. So I do believe that there is a reason and a purpose for your positions.
I'm sorry that happened to you, and I'm sorry that it happened to you. I'm a parent, and I have a daughter. I have a mother. I have a sister, and I would never want anything like that to happen. And what you went through was horrendous, and we have checks and balances in place for that. Moving forward with a lot of
We have checks and balances in place for that. That's what I mean. It seems very like lip servicey. It seems like the thing that you say when somebody says that. Am I completely off base here?
transparency. I think there are a lot of changes in regards to issues with that. Like I said, I mentioned earlier, I personally arrested 2 of our own officers working internal affairs
There
for the
you
crimes
go.
that they committed.
He got 2 guys. He got 2 cops, 2 bad cops off the street. We can all rest easy.
It didn't go over well, but it had to be done. And those are the checks and balances of transparency that these agencies have in place.
So if we were, I would love to know how much or how many officers would be under his control and how long he's been doing the job. Because if you work in internal affairs or whatever, and you've only ever arrested, and I'm not saying he is, I'm just saying I'm curious because he only brought up these 2 officers. Seems like that should be happening a lot more. That's what we were talking about earlier about if cops are so good, then why is there such a fear for calling out bad cops? We got that one right. Yeah. Media says there is a lot that would have to change in the world for there to be no police, but I do think it's possible. Okay, fair enough. In a perfect world, we don't need police. How about the real world that we live in now? MJ says, we haven't been able to predict a crime before it happens, so all we have is check and balance, meaning investigate and arrest the bad guy. I understand that, but yeah, that's what I mean. That's exactly what I mean. It doesn't, they everything about them is it's different. The way you talk is different. The way you think is different. The way you act is, I mean, everything, the way you see the world, the way you see policing, it's so different that you don't even seem like humans to me. You just seem like a block of cops. That's what I see. I haven't heard anything personal about any of the cops. and maybe it's just, you know, the structure of the prompts and all that stuff. But I don't feel like this is just a chit chat for them. And again, maybe I'm off base. Maybe I'm off.
We are not a healed race.
What does that mean?
We are not in a healthy place.
Okay.
We haven't been in a healthy place.
Hey, I knew it. I knew this dude wasn't going to come forward.
But we have to get there. It's not working. It causes more harm than it does good. Because even if 100 police officers do good, it takes that one to do something so atrocious, so bad, that it just wipes all the good away.
And I agree. Even though MJ, I also agree with what you're saying. I see those cops as people, and they have their right to their own experiences. But it's just not. I just don't see it the same way. I just don't see it the same way, and that's fair. That's fine. David Banner says, and to be fair or play devil's advocate, I'm sure the cons have their minds made up too, but they seem to be open to listening to cops and not just, well, this is what I think. Yeah, I mean, that guy Scar literally said, my whole goal was to come here and say F the police, and I can't do that, so I'm leaving. I guess they talked him down, but...
And it shouldn't. And it shouldn't, but it does. Hungry people are going to steal to eat. And that's the thing. We're not looking at the root causes of stuff. Yes, the four of you, what I'm hearing, you sound like really good human beings.
Is she going to go down the Aladdin route and act like all crime is because people are hungry?
That have a job, or chose a job, to maybe you wanted to protect and serve and whatever else, and knew that there was bad things that happen, you want to help with that. I understand that, and it's true. But it gets lost and it gets murky when we continue to see the things that happen. Policing is necessary, but it depends on how you police.
I do believe y'all.
He said, I wanted to be a football player, but it wasn't that good. So I just figured I'd arrest people instead. MJ said, I would love to know how many of the crime is people need food. That isn't what caused Walmart to decide to close in the Chicago area. Yeah, I mean, it seems like she's gone a different way, but too many people think that every criminal is Aladdin. It's like, no. Sometimes people are just bad, and they do stuff because they know they can get away with it. That's it.
Need to be policed as well, though. I believe that you as police.
Oh, I missed that.
I do believe y'all need to be policed as well, though. I believe that you as police officers spend way too much time policing us and not enough time policing each other. And on all the videos, 100% has shown the facts of what partners do. You know, they stand by, they don't police each other. They don't say, hey, stop, bruh, hold up. My homeboys, if I'm acting a fool and they know my felony, they're gonna stop me.
Facts, same shit. I've been there when I've been out with friends, and I know that they have a record. I know that they might have a warrant, and they're starting to wild out. I'm like, yo, chill. You know, we gotta do it up. Maybe that happens with cops. Maybe what we see is overblown, but it's certainly not one or two officers that we see standing by watching other officers do bad shit. It is an extremely common occurrence, just from what we can see. David said, there are for sure willful criminals that actively harm society. Not just my family's going to die if I don't take this loaf of bread. Absolutely. Next says, good point. If we are willing to change our mind on something, we have hope. But when we get into the dogmatic thinking, we are screwed. You got it, brother. You got it. Spot on. Spot on.
Get back over here, Bonnie. Calm yourself. You got too much to lose. All the videos where there's one gone wild.
We don't do that.
Not policing each other.
Again, we don't do that. I didn't do that. I didn't do that. Defensive.
Right. So to your point.
Senate Bill 2?
Yeah. Well, not only that. Yeah. So yeah, they just enacted duty to intercede. Or intervene. Right. So yeah. Right now, you act a fool and you start acting up, and your partner's there and you just watching. That's not going to cut it. You're going to get jammed up and probably get terminated.
Yeah, I'll believe that one when I see it.
Me personally, look, in my 25 24, 25 years. I spent about 12 years in discipline. So I worked internal affairs and I prosecuted cops.
And how many did you prosecute in that time? Seems like that would be a number that you would be jumping to throw out there if it was that big. The fact that two of you, half of you, arrest other cops, and one of you said 2, and the other one's not saying a number. I'm just saying.
I'm 100% with you. I don't
100%.
think any of us here would like to have a bad actor or a liar, you know, or a murderer for that meaning, or a rapist, or, you know, so that in it itself,
That too, MJ, that
it's
too.
just not tolerated whatsoever because we're trying to do what's good. Is police needed? For me, on a personal note, I had a sister who was molested and raped when she was young, my older sister, and she got heavily into drugs. She's a 27-year veteran of meth and ended up getting arrested. She ended up having to go through the system, and you know, I suppose at one point she got drug diversion. But all those years that she did drugs, it really affected her physically to the point where she ended up getting ovarian cancer. And so 2 years ago, I lost her to terminal cancer. My nephew, her son, the apple didn't fall far from the tree. He also committed a lot of crimes. And you know what? If it wasn't for the police arresting him and going through the system, he probably will be dead right now. Right now, he's at he committed crimes out here in Los Angeles, and he's now over in another state where he committed more crimes. And now, luckily, thank God that he's actually going through the systems at a halfway house, has been sober for, I think, over a year. So the police, for me, not just internally for what I did, but it's super necessary for others.
Super necessary. Shout out to Jorge Masvidal.
I mean, we do need policing in a way, but not this type of policing.
Facts.
No, that's it. It's just, this is not it. We need to find another way. You know, and you know, I don't mean to be funny, but I'm pretty sure you guys, if you haven't seen the movie Judge Dredd, I mean, they get to the point. They don't take nothing personal. They do their job. They get spit on. They get talked back. And the cops just do their job. Well, they're judges, but not cops. But they just do their job. That's it. Nothing personal. It's just business. Because it is a business. Because everything that has to do with the police either has something to do with money or money comes out of it. But that's it. You just got to take the personal stuff out the equation.
You got to take the personal stuff out of the equation. And at the end of the day, it is a business. And it's not supposed to be a business. That's the whole reason it's part of the government. That it's not supposed to be based on money. But we hear things of how prosecutors will, you know, have, what is this with Alvin Bragg in New York City, this new Biden ADA or whatever the position is. He, I wish I could remember the guy's name, but it was some New York City bodega. A woman tries to steal a bag of chips or something. The dude says, "No, I saw you. Give me that." Her card's not working or something. He goes outside. Dude comes back in, goes behind the counter, goes to hit the owner, and then they get in a scuffle. Takes a knife. The shop owner does, and kills the offender, the attacker, and he got charged. Absolutely work in conjunction. So are presidents. What does that mean? There are in theory separate entities, but cops get funded based on how their work results in convictions. Absolutely, unquestionable. They do what is politically advantageous for them, whereas police, other than sheriffs, aren't elected. You don't think there's internal politics on any given police force? This is all the stuff that we're talking about. You know, what did yeah, like this stuff. This is what we're talking. Internal politics.
Out the equation, I think we'll be all right. And I mean, compassion. It goes hand in hand. But like I said, just do your job, and that's it. It don't gotta go nowhere beyond that.
So you're 50-50.
Wait, where's what found out?
We should abolish this policing and start a new way.
But you're for the police as long as it's a better system, is what
No,
you're
I'm
saying.
not for the police. It needs to be something else now. The whole policing,
You can't
everything
even
that
say it.
has police in it just needs to get out the way. It needs to be a new way of going about things.
Yes, he is saying as long as it's a different system, then an agency enforcing laws and stuff is fine.
So if you said you had kids, right?
Mm-hmm.
I have 4. Okay. If my daughter is raped, I need an officer that is willing to be my child's voice and hold the rapist accountable. Okay. I was raped.
Yep, that's true.
None of my family believed me. Okay. Nobody. But that one officer that I spoke to, that one cop,
So
believed me.
I'm gonna let her finish her story, and then we'll come back to this.
And made sure that everything was handled appropriately. And charges actually stuck.
But what's the odds of you getting that one cop? I've lost all hope in 911 and calling cops. I don't care. My community can take care of whatever happens that comes towards my family. And I do believe that y'all need the police in perspectives, but not, how would I say? Like the badge and the uniform ain't working no more.
We all agree that we need something better.
Nah, I don't agree at all. Not one
I
bit.
knew it.
I literally believe like that we should be able to take care of ourselves.
Yeah, that's you're literally talking about anarchy, and I mean there's certain types of anarchy that actually might work, but so I got this from I just googled it, but spacesaver.com/public safety under department budget. Can you see that? Oh, where'd we go? I made it too big. Where the hell did it go? Oh, okay. Department budget. Most public safety departments are funded by their governing agency or board, such as city council. Most governments have a use it or lose it governance on annual fiscal budgets and core projects that can be at least partially funded with leftover budget monies at the end of the fiscal year. If your department would like to pursue this type of funding, it is imperative that you have a drawing and proposal on hand when these funds become available, because the funds are used up quickly. But I was looking for, okay. I was looking for like basically what you were asking for. But yeah, I mean it's dependent. I mean it's not solely dependent on how many arrests and stuff they have, but it's absolutely dependent on quote unquote performance, and that translates to arrests and translates to convictions. I just googled how are police budgets determined, so that's all right there. Local police departments spend 68 on funds allocated for policing. They receive funding from a variety of revenue streams, including local public funds, federal grants, fines and fees, forfeitures, private donation. From that link right there, if you'd like to check it out, you're on your own. This is all I could find, but yeah. And so drawing and proposal. We have X number of crimes getting convicted. We need funds to cover everything, and we need to stop and deter those crimes. So yes, it's based on arrests and convictions.
Fend for ourselves, you know. I mean, when this
So
country.
so if you have a 3-year-old daughter that gets kidnapped or raped, your same situation.
Well, I mean, I'm gonna go
How
out.
is she going to defend herself?
I'm gonna become an automatic criminal and probably face charges for taking matters upon my own hands. I'm gonna fall into the cycle.
And if you couldn't find the rapist or the kidnapper?
I mean, to be honest with you, like, I hate to put it this way, but I've been a victim of crimes that I've solved myself before you guys even got involved. And crimes have happened to me that I've delivered, I've handed cases to investigators, and I've done, you know, my thing. I'm not gonna go out and shoot people. I got too much to lose, but I will do my job and I will do what I got to do because it's my stuff. I'm paying, my tax dollars are paying for you guys to do absolutely nothing. And when you guys are called, I'm gonna open a beer. I'm gonna chill. I'm gonna hang out. I'm gonna probably order a pizza. The pizza man will get there before you guys do. You're civil servants of us. At what point did you go from serving us to harassing us? At what point,
Democrats,
did you go from serving and protecting us to making us inferior to you guys? At what point do we go from the people to, man, we're scared of you guys?
And I hear you. Honestly, I hear you. I hear everything you're saying. And,
I honestly have a better chance
through.
policing myself than I having call you guys.
Well,
honestly.
I'm sorry you went through what you did. Okay. I will apologize for us as a whole.
Oh, I'm sorry. How can you do that? How can you apologize for us as a whole if you don't want to be lumped in? You can be lumped in when you're apologizing, but it doesn't work that way when you know, we're telling our stories about what actually happened with other cops. Well, that wasn't me.
But you can't judge all of us.
Yeah, we can. Again, I think it was David Banner who brought up, like, just because I'm wearing a robe and a hood. What? Yes, I can judge you. The same way you're judging him for having face tattoos. Same way you judged my car for being not stock. This is what it is. Lip service. This is all they're giving. Just said, like, the police in Washington that spent over a week. What? Like the police in Washington that spent over a week and was looking at husband instead of trying to find his missing wife that laid in a car for 8 days upside down. MJ, do you know what a comma is, or a period? That would really, really, really help me. Tax money goes to cops based on how they perform. We established it in Lutch's Link. What do you think that performance is?
It's not just you guys. It's a whole history since you guys started. Like, and
yeah, was she expecting to be like, oh, okay, we love the cops now. Oh, all the cops are going to be nice to us now? Like, no, you don't represent them like that. You just represent what they have.
1777, when this country was built, there was no police.
I have trouble, especially being a black cop, is I have been through what you've gone through.
Then why are you being so defensive about what he's saying? If you've gone through it and you know that that's what reality is, then why are you sitting here trying to stick up for yourself?
Yet, when I try to be a better person, every time I talk to somebody with trauma like what you're saying, you judge me based off this, but then expect me not to do the reverse to you. And I don't understand where that disconnect is.
Okay, so here's the thing. You are a government employee and a civil servant. I am a citizen. You have responsibilities in this interaction that I do not have. If I had the badge and the gun, then I would have the responsibilities. But you have the badge and the gun, so you have the responsibilities. That's what the disconnect is.
Well, the disconnect.
If I were to treat you like, oh, this is a Mexican on the street, right?
All the time.
Just Google how are police budgets determined. That's all I did. I Googled that, and it was I don't know, like, first one was some bullshit, so I went to the first one that didn't look like bullshit.
I don't know you, so I've never done that. So don't say I've done that, right?
See, but you can apologize for everything and make everything all good with the cops for all the other cops. But you don't get any of the blame for any of the other cops. Want cake and eat it too.
But if I were to treat you like that, it would be an issue. Why do you feel okay to do that? Hey, this is a cop. He's going to do the exact same shit that everybody else did it before. That's not fair to do.
It's not, but it's not fair to come after me when I'm just driving my car.
I don't know you.
The Constitution says that.
We're not talking about you! Oh my God. Oh my God.
I have the right to enjoy my roads that I pay for with my tax
dollars. It says you have the right to travel. It doesn't say
we travel freely.
Again, getting defensive.
Travel
does
freely,
not
that's the
mean
key
drive,
word. Travel
right?
freely.
Right. So you can walk wherever you want to go, but you
Yeah.
can't drive. That's under the California Constitution.
How is that relevant? This is what we are talking about. What I forget what his name is. This is exactly what we've been talking about the whole time. You're pushing, prodding. Leave it alone. How is that helping move the conversation forward? It's not. It's just feeding your fucking ego. See, that's what I was saying earlier. Dude in the Letterman jacket has his mind made up and is there to say as such. Yep. Oh, they definitely could not handle me.
But that's neither here nor there. But what I'm saying,
I'm glad you recognized that after you got to say it.
would never.
Pay attention, guys. I want you guys to pay attention, right? I want you guys to pay attention because this is a big problem right here. And he claims that he's not a problem and he's in the middle. But let me point it out to you guys right here where the big flaw is. Every time that I've invoked my rights, this individual has chose to go around and still violate my rights. You guys notice that?
Every single time. Every single time. Yeah, I mean, I wouldn't want a beer with any of these guys.
Okay.
The same persona, the same, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
And it's not.
We're not going to get anywhere. Yeah, because you keep saying stupid shit like you can travel freely, not drive freely.
Can we move on to the last prompt because it feels like
let's
it's
go
not
to the
going
next
anywhere.
prompt.
All right,
Locking people up doesn't solve anything.
Locking people up doesn't solve anything. Absolutely it does. If you're out here RPing and murdering people, locking you up is going to stop people from getting RP'd and murdered. Duh. Yeah, I mean, I'm not saying, I'm not like team convict or anything like that. I'm just, we're just checking the conversation. Nope, no. You shouldn't have said anything. You shouldn't have said anything because I would have just let it go. Where is it? Come on. Give me the thing. No depends. You gotta pick. You gotta stand on your values. The prompt was locking people up doesn't solve anything. Locking people up doesn't solve anything. That was the prompt. So I say, of course, I disagree with that. If you are hurting people, then it stops. You don't have to say the crime. I did say the crime. I said the crime. Right. So if there are crimes where people need to be locked away, then you cannot say that locking people up doesn't solve anything because it absolutely solves the fact that there is somebody living amongst our in our society amongst us who should not be because of what they have done.
Finally, middle ground. Punishment is the response to everything.
Nobody said anything. Where's mowing your yard anywhere in here? You're putting that in. You're making it more difficult. If you're to say that this doesn't solve anything, if it solves one thing in one instance, then you disagree. Remember the blue rock? If you say there is no blue rocks in the entire world, I don't need to go and look and see how many blue rocks there actually are. I just need to show you one blue rock, and that nullifies your entire argument. So we're not talking about the different crimes. We're saying ever, in any instance, is there in any instance at all, locking people up doesn't solve anything. That's the prompt. This is exactly why I do this to you guys, because you want to weasel around and say the things that you've already said and already think, and not actually, deal with the difficult questions. You want to answer the questions that you want to answer. Nobody is arguing that you should be locked up for mowing your yard, which is not illegal, by the way. David Banner says, locking people up like violent criminals solves the immediate impact they have on the public. See how simple that is? Veronica says, what if we didn't lock people up? We just sent them away to specified places of the earth. I mean, No, that's what Australia's for, right? But number one, I don't know. I don't think that negates the locking up, because if they can't leave, then they're locked. I'm saying the question wasn't clear enough to answer. It absolutely was. Anything is not too broad. Anything could be anything that is a thing. So if your problem is that you have somebody who is out here murdering people, locking them up will solve more people from getting murdered. That is how logic works. Take them out of society and leave them together somewhere else, specified to dangerous criminals, depending on the crime. I mean, I hear you. I'm just, like, what other, where are we doing this? I'm down. David Banner says the questions are sort of weirded, intentionally vague. Yeah, the idea is to foster a conversation. Like, how much fun would this video be if, like, do you think somebody should get arrested for mowing their yard? That wouldn't be much of a conversation now, would it? But I think it's done for the purposes of not pigeonholing arguments. Yep. But it applies to things that it doesn't solve. Okay, but that's why it doesn't say it solves everything. Words mean things. If it had said locking people up solves everything, then of course that would be an entirely different statement. But to say it doesn't solve anything is just incorrect. That's just a priori fact. I mean, I'm not sure where your confusion is. Wrongs is not within society, and it's monitored still from coming back. So there you go. They're still being locked up. Might be in a very large place. Might not have to be in a cell, but you're still locked up.
By punishment, I mean throwing somebody into a system that does not address anything, any of the issues that the person might have had, the communities have, people with substance issues, mental health issues, poverty issues.
So again, if the prompt was that locking people up solves everything, we would say, no, of course not. All of those things, it doesn't help. But it asks, does it solve anything? Words are important, guys.
Let's be clear, poverty is a crime, right? But people are getting locked up for it because they're trying to manage and eat and survive and just do, you know. And so we're not addressing anything that causes these ills. Okay, let's lock them up and throw away the key. That's the mindset, at least that's how we feel. Because
that's how we feel. I feel like it's not really doing anything because I feel like we're hurt and we need to. No. This is cope. This is cope from the other side. Most criminals are not people who are just trying to feed their family. That is a huge fallacy.
Because we lived it and we continue to live it.
Yeah, I think we've gotten better.
And I feel like that's where now we're getting this middle ground and this understanding that it is not the way to do things. It is not the solution.
Right. I feel like we're getting the blame for it when it's a system as a whole. You know, we don't have anything to do with.
Well, you don't have nothing to do. You can't say you don't have anything to do with it if you're the person arresting it. Like, again, if you are involved, then you can't say you don't have anything to do with it. You may not control the laws, but you certainly have the agency as a human being, whether or not to follow them. I'm not saying you should or shouldn't. I'm just saying you have to do with that. I do not.
It's what happens.
Or you're part of it.
And well, yes. we are part of it. Absolutely.
You're the root of it.
We
shout out to David Banner. Thank you, buddy. Appreciate you being here.
Absolutely agree on that.
See, that's the thing that you guys say, oh, we're not responsible, but then you say that, oh, we're not like this, but I mean,
no, we're responsible.
No one's taking accountability. That's one thing. I mean, you guys say sorry, you're apologizing for them, but where are they? Like, you know, it's like we never see them.
You're the stage before intake. So you're the level before I go in. Mm-hmm. So when I'm put in handcuffs and going in, my last real human contact is with the person who put the handcuffs on me. And not once has anyone ever just had a compassionate, like, hey, I hope to see you make it out of here healthy, or hey, you know what, I'm
Recidivism has been 70% for God knows how long.
like 80 something.
I'd say probably 80 now. In certain zip codes, in certain locations, it's probably even the 90 or 95%. So from a societal point of view, absolutely.
San Francisco,
I think that,
New York City,
locking people up
Chicago.
is not the key. As a matter of fact, all the prisons that they made in the state of California has been overpopulated for decades.
There's money in recidivism. There's not money in reformation, and that's the problem. Is that you are trapped.
She hit the nail on the head. There's money in recidivism. There's money in recidivism.
In a system, and so am I, where it's all about a dollar amount on me, and that's just what it is.
Like, you know, when I got locked up, like, I went in for weed. And when I got out, like, in 2 weeks, I came out, like, knowing how to steal a car. I made more connections with more criminals. I learned how to make a shank. I learned how to hide stuff. Like, I became more criminal going to prison, going to jail. All these, like, you just are surrounded by other people that are doing even crazier stuff than just having weed. So it's like, I came out worse. And each time I will go, I will learn something even worse. So it's like, it just makes you even worse. Like,
imagine like having a family for 13, 27 years, right? And then you come home and you're told you can't associate with them.
Oof. Yeah.
Like, those are my friends and they're home, I'm home.
I mean, also, don't commit crimes, but
we've relied on each other. Violation, 10-day sit down. Oh, what's your name? It's all about the dollar amount. All my support is stripped because they're felons. What support do I have? Not y'all, not the felons. I'm in the middle line too. Who supports me? My job.
We need some help on both sides at all levels. Going back what you said about financials, yeah, it is. It's at the legislative branch where they need to make these changes, and it's going to trickle down where it affects all of us on both sides. Definitely.
And we have not really brought the elephant to light in this room right now. This system is not ours, right? It was created before any of us here. Was designed to continue a form of slavery. Period. The vast majority of the 2.3 million people in American prisons and jails are Black and brown.
All right.
Period.
So guys, I just dropped the link. I just dropped the link to the if you want to come up on the channel, pin comment. I would very much ask if you cam up. If you're not going to cam up, at least please use the same name that you have on YouTube so I know who you are. You know, these trolls out here trying to mess everything that we got going on, trying to bring it down. But like MJ, I'd love to, you know, maybe talk out some of the things that we weren't able to discuss here. You know, we've already, you know, of course, we'll be able to talk about it in Discord, but I think it would be good for the, you know, just the stream and anybody else watching who's not in the Discord. But that's totally up to you. And if she doesn't come up, guys, then you're missing out. Just join Discord. MJ says, I don't think that is the cop's role, or at least how it's functioning now. It needs to be a community to rehabilitate individuals as they return to society. Definitely agree there. David Banner says it can be both the fault of the cops and something the criminals are responsible for. I understand totally what you're saying, but the correlation can sometimes equal causation. I'm inclined to agree with you. Can you give me an example of what you mean? Because, you know, at the end of the day, we are all responsible for ourselves. I mean, I'm hesitant to say, you know, never, but I can't think of a situation where you would be committing a crime without knowing that you're committing a crime. And so unless we are talking about the Aladdin situation, then, you know, so I don't really know what that means. All right, we got Melted Mind Media. Let's do this. Welcome to the party. What is good?
What's up, bro?
Would you like to let the people know who you are? There he is.
What's up, buddy? I'm just a dude that lives in the Midwest that works a blue collar job and just lives day to day, you know?
Right on. So, you were talking about how you had, this small town mentality with the cops. So that being your experience, what have you gathered from these people who have definitely had different types of experiences?
Well, it's like I've lived in like where I live right now is really small, but I've lived in big areas. Like 20 minutes away from me is like it used to be the biggest one of the biggest cities in Indiana, but it lost like it was like Detroit pretty much where it lost all its automotive, like everything, all its like factories.
Right.
So now it's like all a ghetto, and the police there, like it's got crazy police. There's shootings all the time. And I used to live around there, and I never had to interact with cops. Like it may be because I'm white, bro. I'm playing, but
playing the race card.
Yeah, exactly. Like that might be it, but I don't know. It's like I'm not the cops don't deserve, I would say, I don't know. I feel like they don't deserve a lot of the respect that they do deserve or that they get. Like right now, I would say there's a lot that does go on and does happen where a cop does do good and does something right. Like the ones in that shooting that happened in freaking oh my gosh, the trans shooting
in Nashville, yeah,
where the cops actually went in.
They
and did
actually went
something.
in
They
and did their
went
job.
in. I know, instead of just sitting at the door like, oh, bro, dude, I got a family at home. It's like, what do you sign up for? Like, what did
These
you
people
expect?
used to, but not anymore.
No.
So what was your what was the prompt that stuck out to you the most, or the conversation that we were having? What was where were you most interested?
Oh my gosh, what was the?
So we had the first one was cops should not carry guns. Second one was police violence is blown out of proportion. The third one was committing a crime is never justified. Then criminals who commit violent felonies don't deserve certain legal rights. That was the one they kind of skipped over. Then we had I fear the other side and policing is necessary.
That one that they skipped over, I feel like would have been, if it was worded better, would have actually been a good conversation.
Yeah, yeah. How did you interpret?
Well, I feel like there's human rights that everyone deserves, like obviously, like, but are there rights like? I don't think people should lose their right to vote, like at all. Like enough people don't vote right now. So and I know, like I work with felons, and I know felons that if they had the right to vote, they wouldn't vote. They would be voting for Trump right now. They wouldn't be voting anything that would be like, oh, they're gonna vote something in they're gonna make anarchy happen. It's gonna be year-round purge. Like,
yeah, right. That is what people think. But you were talking about how that is, because I was under the impression that once you've committed a felony, that's it. You can't vote at all anymore.
I don't think you can get your voting back, but you can get your Second Amendment rights back as long as it's
right. Okay. Okay, that's what.
As long as it's not a domestic crime and it's not a gun,
do with
like a
right.
Yeah, but I don't know. See, but what does have to do with a firearm? Like, if you legally own a firearm and then you end up doing something illegal, and if you're like, I have a firearm on me, I'm not trying to use it. Like, would that be there was a firearm involved with the crime? Like,
yeah, that's. I mean, we were talking about the last one, and yeah, David Banner saying it's case to case, and a lot of these things are, which is why it's so difficult to talk about, because the people, as the cops brought up over and over and over and over again, it wasn't them who gave the bad experiences to any of the convicts. But they're also trying to, be the representatives of police. And it's like, you can't have your cake and eat it too.
Yeah, I was debating, instead of putting race card, I was debating putting a black cop with blue jacket. Because dude, that guy was just like, Oh my gosh, what's that dude's name in the chat? Why can't I remember it now? David said it right. He's like the complete opposite of like, I'm sorry, like not me. He was like, well, the law says that I'm allowed to. It's like stupid.
Speaking of David, he says the one that stood out the most to me was police violence is blown out of proportion. Those cops were easy to say, yeah, I'm not out here whooping ass, but you represent those that do. That's that was the one I think that frustrated me the most because of the defensiveness. I think it all comes down to that. Like I said, they, the convicts or not, they were sharing their personal experiences and very real shit. And the cops didn't have anything of substance. They had arguments, but it was very thin. You know what I mean?
Yeah, I don't. Oh my gosh, what was I gonna say? I know some of them mentioned the crimes that they had like committed. Like the older black lady didn't. I don't think she committed the crime that she ever did.
So she says.
Yeah, and neither did and it's sad because the one that I think had the best arguments of the cons was the lady with the pigtails.
Mm-hmm.
I think she had some of the best arguments, but the sad part is she didn't she was talking about, well, you guys say I'm a felon and I'm a felon this and I'm a felon that, and this caused me to do this. I'm like, I need to know what crime you committed or how your case went to even know if I think you committed wrong doing at all. It's like I need to know more about this person, and that's what you can't.
And it says if they weren't beating people, what did you want them to say? Would you like to field this question?
If they weren't beating people, what would you want them to say?
Instead of being all defensive. Well, I'll say for me, I would have liked a lot more of understanding that they're number one, that it's not about them. We understand. Nobody was saying you did this to me. Nobody was saying that. And then I didn't do it. It wasn't me. I don't know. We know that, dude.
Yeah.
It happened to them. You don't have to tell them it wasn't you. That's not the reason that they're saying it. So what I would have liked for them to say was what I would have liked for them to say was something along the lines of, I understand that is something that goes on. And while I try not to, engage in that behavior or something like that, that certainly is something that we need to address. And here are the ways that, because it's my job, here are the ways that I've thought about that we can address that. That's what I would have liked them to say. Obviously not apologizing for the police, because I made fun of her for doing exactly that. It said they totally didn't care what the cons were saying. Discounting the negatives, the experience that the civilians had, it wasn't me, so my experience trumps yours. Exactly. Just why did they feel that way?
And the sad thing is the redheaded small town Tennessee cop, she probably relates most to anyone that she lives around compared to any of the people that went to jail, compared to the cops that went to the city. They probably they went to completely different schools. They didn't even live within 20 miles of each other. They never even seen each other, while this lady's probably talked to every single person she might have had to arrest. I've known this person since high school.
Right. Yeah. And there's just a lot of wiggle room. I think that is something that maybe I should have focused on a little bit more, but I think the wiggle room that these cops have, and that's why we have to take it case by case, because the laws are written, and in to some extent justifiably, with that wiggle room where they need to use their judgment, sometimes justifiably, sometimes we need that, but we have to also acknowledge that allows cops to do things that they probably shouldn't do and still be lawful. Well, I want to thank you so much for coming on up here, Milton.
Thanks,
and
man.
Especially thank you for sponsoring the show. And since you're up here, he's asleep. Let's wake him up. Morty.
Morty.
Yummy, yummy, yummy. Any social media or YouTube or anything else that you want to let the people know about?
Yeah, a Melted Mind on YouTube, you know, sub to me, and I'm gonna start making content soon, man. I definitely need to start streaming video games and definitely just start making opinion videos. Definitely gonna start doing it.
Nice. Drop me the link in Discord, and I'll put it in here before we head out. But I want to thank you so much for coming on up here, and thank you especially for sponsoring the show.
MJ, David, have a good night. You both were awesome.
All right, take care. All right, so you know, lots of opinions going around, and exactly, you know, we don't all have the same opinion, and but we can disagree, and the idea is not for us all to, you know, jerk each other off and be, oh, you're so right, yeah. That's not what we're doing here. There are channels where you can go and do that if that's what you want to do. But MJ, I want to thank you for engaging in this show exactly the way that it was meant to be engaged with. I gotta get better at using that same word in the sentence. But yeah, it's totally fine if we disagree. It's about the conversation. It's about learning from each other, all of that good stuff. Nick says, where I was born, I didn't feel like we had cops. But instead, we had my friends' dads. We all knew by name and knew they cared. That was great. But I've unfortunately seen the other side of cops also. Yeah, I think that there is two sides to every individual cop. I mean, there's different sides to all of us. But if we're talking about, you know, the same cop, you know, we were talking about good days and bad days. That's a reality. You know, they are human beings. They should have the ability and the training to supersede their instinctual reactions to things based on, you know, what is best for society. They don't. And it's not okay. It's understandable that they're human beings, but you know, we gotta split that difference. David says, okay, so when the Letterman jacket cop was quick to say, I don't even know you. I didn't do these things to you. That didn't discount what the cons were saying. Of course it did. I think MJ's position was that both sides were doing that. I don't really feel like that. I don't think you do either. But you know, that is fair. And we got Melted Mind Media's channel here. Definitely go check him out. He is also in the Discord server where you should be. That is where we are headed, guys. I want to thank you so much for hanging out with me. We had a good time. I did not expect to go this long on a 1 hour thing. And all that means is that we had some great conversation. So thank you once again. And again, Melted Mind Media for sponsoring the stream. Much love to all of you guys. I cannot wait to see what you have to say in Discord. If you haven't joined, the link should be dropped. I think Splitch just dropped the link. And let me pin that one now. Pinned message. If you would like to join the Discord, we are going over into the live video chat room to discuss all of this and anything else. I hope to see you over there. Thank you so much for hanging out. Amoy, come over here. We got to do the outro. Come on. This is Morty, and I have been your host, Lutch, aka the Indian Jesus, here to resurrect the second coming of common sense. Until next time, guys, we are out of here. Peace.